Two, one. Hello and good morning, everyone. Today is January 25th. It is Sunday. Now, what's interesting about today is my phone has completely been blowing up with all of the closings and cancellations. In fact, I didn't even realize that I was part of the member stream of that many churches in the area because I'm getting, baby, what you got a sticker on your tail? I'm sorry, she has a sticker on her tail. I'm sorry, I gotta pull it off. There we go. I just pulled her hair off. Sorry, baby. That's why you came to me. Okay, go ahead away. I didn't realize I was part of that many churches in the area because I'm getting all the there's no church service today. There's no church service today. Aside from that, I looked out the window. I'm going to estimate that there is about 4 inches on the ground. I don't know what the exact number is, but I'm looking outside and it's still snowing. And from what the weather report is saying, it's not going to let up anytime soon. So definitely, I know that this is a crisis, an emergency throughout the entire United States, and it has me worried. It really does because this is a this is a time where it can be very dangerous. People are on the roads. They shouldn't be on the roads. People are forced to go to work. There are people who are trapped in their house. I mean, this could be a very, very serious, dangerous time. Last night, for whatever reason, maybe we had a power outage. I'm not too sure. I obviously slept through it. But when I woke up this morning, turns out the heat never turned on. It was 57 degrees. So I turned the heat on. It's getting warmer, but I had to wrap myself in my shawl. I put my space heater right there. Normally, I have my space heater right here, but I realized the sound of it affects you guys. So I didn't. So I don't know if you can hear it in the background or not like that. But I think it's better as far as sound because when I was listening to yesterday's show, you heard that like echo chamber. So just give me a heads up if you hear um, that swooshing sound from like the space heater, little portable heater. All right. So I want to talk about a couple of things. I'm actually in a very uplifting mood. I think yesterday's show was very profound and powerful. I really do. The message I gave yesterday, I think I really, really needed to give. At the same time, I also want to apologize because to some people, that message may have been overwhelming, may have been disturbing, may have been argumentative, it may have been going against their beliefs. I mean, it's a whole spectrum of what that message may have given. And for me, I think that message that I gave yesterday was so important. So I want to apologize. I mean, I'm not apologizing for my message, but I want to apologize if anybody took offense to that message or if you were not prepared or overwhelmed by it. Good morning, Angel. Welcome to the show. But it was a message that I felt that was so important. Now, today, I feel like I am going to read Joshua, but I feel like I want to address a couple of things because, like I said, the first issue is the snowstorm. This is, I want to call it like a snowpocalypse. This is a storm that's not just affecting us, it is affecting almost the entire United States, or at least I should say on the east side, not necessarily the west side. But it is such a dangerous storm. Here in Texas, and I'm not saying like better or not, but here in Texas, Texas is not prepared for snow. When we get a dusting, so if we get just like a light dusting that just covers the ground, Texas closes it down. It completely does. We don't have snow plows. We don't have salt trucks. We don't have. The only thing we have in Texas is they have a spray, like it's a chemical spray that they go around before it snows. They usually do it the night before it snows, and you'll see these lines in the roadway because the idea is when the dusting hits the roadway, it's supposed to immediately melt. Well, that's the problem. We're not getting a dusting. We now have about 4 inches of snow piled up. So it's just going to turn to ice. It's just going to be bad. Currently, the temperature is 5 degrees with a wind chill of -11. And tomorrow, it's supposed to be even lower. So even that, those are temperatures that are unheard of in Texas. So I definitely want to say a prayer for everyone out there as far as for safety, warmth, comfort. So let me start off with that. And I do want to start off with prayer. And then I'm going to go off into all my little tangents. And then we're going to read chapter 8 of Joshua. I mean, I want to get back to this as well, but I also want the opportunity to talk about things. So welcome to the show, Angel. I know you're there in the background. Anyway, so let's start off with a prayer. So, dear God, during this time, we ask that you please provide safety, warm shelter, and comfort for anyone in need, for all of us. This is a emergency time where we hope that everything is okay and that everybody stays safe and secure. As far as this live, I pray that we have a positive, uplifting live, that your message, your words, your knowledge can come out through us, and each and every one can come to their own understanding and individual relationship with you. I pray and thank you for all the things that you have given to me and all the things that you give us in this life and in this wonderful world. Amen. All right, so I think like I said, that was an important prayer. Um, if yesterday brought out a lot of negativity and trolls, and I know it did. So I want to thank all my moderators for definitely keeping on track with the negativity. Today, I don't see it's too bad. I am doing a show on YouTube. So sorry, YouTube. My eye angles are going to be down here. And I know my camera quality is a little bad. I'm going to have to eventually fix that. So I'm going to have to get a different camera for YouTube, because what I have to say is that TikTok looks absolutely beautiful as far as camera. YouTube sort of looks like garbage. But you know something? It's easier for me to live stream twice than it is for me to download the TikTok and then upload it to YouTube. So it's either poor quality with not direct contact, or it's instant quality where both of you are seeing it at the same time, and then there'll be a preserved copy on YouTube. Um, because our shows are so long, the amount of time that it takes me to upload and download, it's ridiculous, and it ends up taking bandwidth away from my. So I think it's better this way. So I do have to apologize, YouTube. You don't get the best quality. I'll eventually work on getting another camera. All right. So a few things. I want to talk about a couple of things. I let's go back about 2 years ago. So where my situation was 2 years ago, I was in a new relationship. Um, it took me 2 years before I immediately got back into a relationship, which was interesting because I had a very, very um, severe breakup from a long term relationship. And I allowed myself some time to try to rebuild, to try to grow, to try to get my mind back into things. And I ended up getting involved in another relationship. And that was a first for me, because I'm the type of person that instantly went from one relationship right into another. And I ended up giving myself time. And I know this is a long winded thing, but what I ended up doing in this relationship is he taught me a lot about computers, because I didn't realize how ignorant I was on computers. And even to this point, I'm still ignorant. I mean, there's a lot of things that I don't even understand about TikTok and stuff like that. But what he did was he started teaching me on how to do like video editing, how to use AI. And what I did was I developed a new profile on YouTube where I started putting my homemade videos on. like my edited AI videos and stuff like that. And one of the things that I did was every day I would do a motivational video of the day. And I did that for a while. But what ended up happening is when our relationship broke up, I stopped doing that. And I'm also the type of person, which is why these shows are so important to me. I'm the type of person that gives up easily. I never finish anything. And not only do I not finish anything, if I start something and give it up, not only do I completely forget about it, I toss it out and throw it out of my mind completely. So it was interesting that when I logged on to Facebook this morning and my memories popped up, it was videos that I started uploading onto that site of motivation. And I had to sit and I'm staring at these videos and I'm looking and reading at them. And I'm like, why did I stop doing that? So part of me feels like I need to continue that. And I think it's a great segue to take some of that information and all the new stuff and to incorporate it in this as well. Because right now I'm reading the Bible. I usually have a short little story before I read the Bible, and I say a prayer. And what's happening is these shows are getting longer, they're getting more involved, they're getting people interacting. And I mean, I know it's early. Normally I start at 10 o'clock. I started early today because I was very anxious and I'm like, I need to get my mind, I need to clear my mind and stuff like that. Hello, MK. Welcome to the show. And hello to everybody else that joined in. So I want to share with you a very inspirational posting that I put. Now, this particular posting, its origins is from AA. And I'm going to read it in its entirety, but there's one point that I want to change a word of this posting. And I'll get to that and I'll tell you why I'm changing the word, because that one little blurb, if you change the word, it ties into so much like this. It really does. And I mean, even if you, I mean, if I keep the word as is, it will still be important. But if I change that one little word and change it to the word Jesus, it's going to be so much more profound. It really is. So let me read it to you. Let me share it with you. It's a story. And like I said, this was posted, this particular one was posted last year. So my other ones are posted 2 years ago, but let me read it to you. So, and it's probably a famous thing because this was taken off the internet as a story. And like I said, I'm just going to change one section to it to its liking. So, an addict fell in a hole and couldn't get out. A businessman went by and the addict called out for help. The businessman threw him some money and told him, "You need to go buy a ladder." But the addict could not find a ladder in this hole that he was in. So a doctor walked by. The addict said, "Help, I can't get out of this hole." So the doctor gave him some drugs and said, "Take this, it will relieve the pain." The addict said, "Thanks." But the problem was, when the pills ran out, he was still in the hole. A renowned psychiatrist rode by and heard the addict's cries for help. And he stopped and looked at him and said, "How did you get in there? Were you born in there? Did your parents put you in there? Tell me about yourself. It'll alleviate some of your loneliness." So the addict talked to him for an hour. Then the psychiatrist had to leave. But he said, "Don't worry, I'll be back next week." The addict thanked him. But the problem was, the addict was still in the hole. A priest came by and he heard the addict calling for help. The priest gave him a Bible and said, "I will pray for you." The priest got down on his hands and knees and prayed for the addict. But then the priest left. The addict was so grateful. He had a Bible in hand and he opened it up and started reading. He read the entire Bible. But the problem was the addict was still in the hole. Now here's the part I want to change. So the word is a recovering addict. So a recovering addict happened to pass by. The word is supposed to be a recovering addict. I'm going to change that one word, and I want to change that to Jesus because I think it's more important. So when I say Jesus, the original context is actually a recovering addict. But I think this is important that I say Jesus. So Jesus happened to pass by, and the addict in the hole cried out, "Help me! I am stuck in this hole." And right away, Jesus jumped in the hole with him. The addict said to him, what are you doing? Now we are both stuck in this hole. But the but Jesus said to him, "It's okay. I've been here before and I know the way out." So I think that's a beautiful thing. And like I said, the only thing I changed was the word recovering addict to Jesus. I just think it's an inspirational story. MK, you asked a question. Let me just scroll back to what that question was. Um, okay, hold on. Every time you like the live, it's. But I did see a question. I'm going to answer. Okay, are you going? Oh, am I going to fast for 3 days? Um, I'm not going to fast. However, I did start a journey of low carb. So my transformation right now is that I'm purging myself of sugar, carbs, processed stuff, and it has been difficult. I'm currently on day 5 now, and day 6. I'm on day 6 now, and I'll tell you what's difficult is when you cut out the sugar, the carbs. Believe it or not, it's just like having withdrawals, and it's just like having almost, yeah, I'll get the shakes, I'll get withdrawals, I'll get weak. So with this journey, I'm trying to improve myself from mind, body, and spirit. And what's difficult about it is getting past my addictions to sugar. If anybody's ever done the Atkins, you'll know they call it the Atkins flu. But I do have to say, compared to other times that I've started this lifestyle change, it hasn't been that bad this time. It really hasn't. I mean, I do get like the weakness, but as far as I'm starting to get my taste buds back. I think that's what the amazing thing is, because for those of you who know, I completely lost my sense of taste and smell. And now I don't have all of it back. I still don't have my taste of smell. So smell is still out the window. But now I'm starting to get my taste buds back, and I'm starting to be able to taste certain foods. Other foods have absolutely no taste, but it was becoming very, very maddening. And what was also interesting about me losing my sense of taste and smell is that my sense of touch started heightening. And that was getting very, very disorienting as well because, and they laugh at me, like I can feel things that other people weren't feeling. So it's like, I would try to describe it. It's like, you don't understand. I can literally feel like waves of energy in the air. And I know that sounds a little creepy and stuff like that, but this is stupid. I says I can even feel when people fart. I know that sounds stupid. And they're like, "What?" I'm like, "I can't smell it, but if somebody farted around me, it felt like an energy, like like it was weird, even if it was a silent one." And they're like, "Oh, you smell it?" I'm like, "No, I can feel it." So my mind was starting to misinterpret signals because my sense of touch is so exaggerated right now. I mean, it's good to cut sugar, but it gets hard when you see ads about your food. Oh, absolutely. And I mean, I try not to I'm doing what's good about this now, MK, is Chris is gone. Well, he's gone. He's been gone for a week now. So he's still gone for 2 more weeks. And I think in some ways, not having him here is both helpful and hindering. So obviously, I miss him. But because he's not here, I'm able to do this without distraction. Now, some people will say, "Well, wait a minute, you should be doing it with him for the encouragement and stuff like that." And it's like, no, it's not that I'm trying to do it behind his back. It's I know I'm going through mood swings. I know I'm going through withdrawals. I know I'm going through like crankiness and stuff like that. So, for him not being here, I'm able to center myself, get a grasp of the situation, experience the lifestyle change. So this way, about the time he gets back in 2 more weeks, it would have already generated a habit. And that's why I said, I'm like, I'm actually glad that this coincided together really nicely because he's away on work assignment. Oh, my cats are fine. I've got Treasure is literally right here next to me. Pikachu's on the chair over there, and Hope is right there on the box up there. So they're doing great. But thank you for asking. So, if anybody felt any connection to that story about the addict, I think it was a very, very important story. Now, I do have a couple more that I may want to read with you. Let me just see this one. I want to read this one to you because I think this is important as well. And it's just a little blurb, and it is important to remind ourselves every day that we are important, worthy, and what we offer to others is important. Even if it's hard to see that for ourselves, we deserve love, happiness, respect from ourselves and from others, and we shouldn't settle for less. So I think that's a very, very inspirational post that I wrote 2 years ago. And I think that's what I'm going to do because I'm so surprised at myself that I completely forgot that I used to post motivational sayings every single day. I mean, I posted these regularly and I realized I completely stopped doing it. So it made me wonder it's like, why did I stop doing this? These are beautiful messages that I can share. And I know it's one of those things that if I share a message, somebody else out there at some point will find a connection to it as well. So those were my little messages I wanted to share. Now, oh, thank you so much for the gifts. I really, really appreciate it. And welcome to the show, everyone. All right, so now what we're going to do is we are going to read Joshua chapter 8. So, just to understand where we are right now. So, Moses has already died. Joshua is now taking on the role of Moses. He is now the conduit between the Lord and the children of Israel. The children of Israel right now has just destroyed the town of like the Jordan area, and the only people that they saved at this moment was Rahab. What's her name? Reba. I keep getting her name confused. Reba. What did I say? Rahab. I think her name was Reba or Rahab. Rahab. Okay, so they they saved her and they saved the family, and I think that's where we are just at is that point where they saved her. I would be a good Bible teacher. Oh, thank you, MK. I really, really appreciate that. Um, I always wanted to be a teacher, and I actually had a very, very rare opportunity that most people don't have, where I was invited for a half a semester to teach as a co-professor for a college course. And I can't tell you what an enlightening experience that was. I mean, it was only for 7 sessions, like 7 weeks. It was only 7 sessions, but to be able to get up in front of a college class and to impart knowledge, it had nothing to do with the Bible. It was a completely different subject. But I always wanted to be a teacher, but I never wanted to be a teacher to children, like in education. I always wanted to do it on a college or adult level. The only problem is I shouldn't say I never finished my college degree. And a lot of people say, oh, well, you should go back to school just to finish your degree. And the way I look at it now is, does it really matter? Like, does that piece of paper really matter? But it does matter if I wanted to ever actually teach college level. I don't know. That's one of, I will say that's one of my triggers, and it's a painful trigger. So when people talk about my education and when people call me stupid or anything like that, I have a real problem with that. It really, it hits me hard. But on the flip side, I find it shocking and amazing when people genuinely do say, Melanie, do you realize how smart you are? Because all I hear in my head and from people is when they remind me and yell at me and tell me how stupid I am. So it's hard. I mean, you can tell church members to probably help you. I don't know. I see. For me, this is the first time reading the Bible, so I'm only on Joshua. So for me, I definitely would need to read the whole thing. But like I said, once I read the whole thing, my plan is to go all the way back in the beginning and then start doing the different study guides and the Bible verses and the Bible guides and stuff like that. So, but thank you. I appreciate that, MK. I do. I like to, I'm the type that likes to take things apart and look at it from different perspectives. And I think that's what the interesting thing is. A lot of times people have one view, but when you're able to look at something from other points of view, it really could make a different conversation. And that's why I try to consider different points of view. Hello, Keely. Welcome to the show. All right, so let's start. We're going to start, if anybody's following with their Bible, we're doing Joshua chapter 9, verse 1. And like I said, this is just after they sounded the trumpets and they are about to fight the city. And the only people they saved was Rahab and her family. So here we go. And it came to pass when all the kings which were on this side of Jordan in the hills and in the valley and in the coasts of the great sea over against Lebanon, the Hittite, the Amorite, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hevites, the Jebusites, heard thereof, they then gathered themselves together to fight with Joshua and with Israel with one accord. Okay, so now this is the major fight. They're fighting, they're duking it out. Let's see what happens. When the inhabitants of Gibeon heard what Joshua had done unto Jericho and unto Ai, they worked willily and went and made as if they had been ambassadors, and took old sacks upon their asses and wine bottles old and rent and bound them up. Okay, interesting. All right, so when they say old sacks and old bottles of wine, are they trying to say that that's poor quality, or are they trying to say that it's high quality? Because I mean, nowadays when you have an old vintage wine, that's a good thing. But I'm curious if they're giving them bad goods, or are they going to them and giving them high quality goods? So right now I'm a little confused by this statement, but let's, oh, actually, hold on. I'll answer. And old shoes clouded upon their feet, and old garments upon them, and all the bread of their provisions that were dry and moldy. Okay, I just answered my question by reading the next line. Okay, so basically, they are pretending to be peacemaker ambassadors to go to these people. However, they're bringing garbage. They're not bringing good stuff. So in this case, old and vintage is not good wine. They're giving them like bad wine, moldy bread, bad clothes. So they're going to this meeting with stuff that's bad to begin with. which is interesting because if they really wanted to make a treaty with these people, then what they would do is bring them like gold and silver, the finest wines, the finest jewels. And I mean, they would want to sit down with them and make some sort of treaty. But obviously, these people are not doing it. They're doing it the wrong way. They're like, okay, we'll talk to you, but we're going to give you the garbage that we have. All right, let's see. They went to Joshua unto the camp of Gilgal and said unto them and the men of Israel, we come from a faraway country. Now therefore make ye a league with us. Okay, so now it's almost they're pushing, like it's almost like they're ordering them. It's like it's a self-entitlement. We're coming far away, so you need to make a treaty with. You need to be with us. And they said unto Joshua, we are servants. And Joshua said, well, who are ye? And where do you come from? And they said unto them, from a very far country thy servants come because of the name of thy Lord. For we have heard the fame of him and all that he did of Egypt. Okay, so right now this is telling me they're being very deceptive. They're lying to them. But let's see how this pans out. And all that he did to the two kings of the Amorites. They were beyond Jordan to Shihon, the king of Heshbon, and to Og, the king of Bashan, which was of Ashtaroth. Wherefore our elders and all the inhabitants of our country spake unto us, saying, take victuals with you for the journey, and go meet them, and say unto them, we are your servants. Therefore now make us in league with you. Okay, now, if I'm not mistaken, I want to check something out real quick. I'm going to just quickly look, because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Ashtaroth was one of the gods. It could be wrong. Sometimes when I look at a word, I'm trying to figure out, is it a place, a person, or a god? So I just want to see what Ashtaroth was. Ashtaroth of the Bible. Let's see what that is. Okay. Okay, so yeah, this is one of the gods. Okay, so Ashtaroth, also known as Astaroth, is a goddess mentioned in the Bible, primarily associated with the Sidonians. She's often linked to fertility, sex, and war. Interesting, they're in the middle of the war right now. Her worship is condemned in the Bible as a form of idolatry that led to the spiritual corruption of Israel. She's referenced in various contexts, including connection to the moon and planet Venus. It's also considered a representation of the passive principle in need. Ashtaroth is also associated with Carnamen, a city in the Bible. Her worship is seen as a cautionary tale against the syncretism of abandonment of the faithfulness to God. Now, I just want to point something out, because what's interesting is this ties in a little bit to what we talked about. So now the Bible does make references to very, very specific gods. The first one mentioned was Moloch. Then there was Piero Ballo Pietro. I'm saying it wrong. I got to look it up, but it's something Pietro. And now we're talking about Ashtaroth. What makes it interesting, and I had this conversation yesterday, and it disturbed a couple of people, because the conversation that I had is, these gods were technically before the Bible. So a lot of times people are saying, in order to get to Jesus, I mean, in order to get to heaven, you need to go to Jesus. I says, yeah, but there's a flaw in that. And they're like, what? I says, Jesus didn't exist at the time of the children of Israel. And technically, any type of Christianity or following the Lord didn't exist either, because this is the first time, and only the children of Israel have knowledge of who the Lord is. And it's up to the children of Israel with their pilgrimage to spread that knowledge out. But the problem is, The Lord is not commanding them to spread the knowledge out. The Lord is specifically commanding them to destroy the Havatis, the Canaanites, and he goes on and on. So they're not there to convert them, they are there to literally destroy them. And not only are they there to destroy them, they need to destroy their animals, they need to destroy every bit of the information. And I see that as a flaw. And I see that as a problem because you are taking a new idea of religion, and instead of preaching it and bringing it to people to make them have the free will to decide, do I want to follow him or do I want to follow the old ways? He's not giving them free will in that respect. What he's giving these people is, if you align or if you are in this city that worships these older gods that existed before people knew about this, then you're totally going to decimate them, destroy them, and obliterate them. Now, that is a very hard thing to grasp. Now, people say, oh, well, you just need to pray to Jesus. And I mean, I agree with that. But like I said, I'm reading this chronologically right now. And chronologically, just think about the atmosphere of what's going on right now. So, for X amount of years, you have been taught to worship a very specific God. In this context, they are taught to worship Ashtaroth. There are a group of people, the children of Israel, who are now proclaiming that there is another God who is actually the God who created everything, who is the real God. Now, instead of being said, okay, we no longer want you to worship Asherah, we want you to worship the one true God. Let's talk about it, let's converse about it. No, instead, these people are coming in the name of violence for the name of the Lord to destroy them completely and everything and anything, and destroy everything but take their gold and silver. So if you think about it that way, that makes it a completely different story. If you think about it from a future perspective that says, well, in order for people to understand the Lord and understand what it was, they weren't being obedient. My question is, how can they be obedient to something that they've never heard of before? Because as of right now, the Lord has just created the testament to the children of Israel. He hasn't created that for the rest of the world, and the rest of the world doesn't know about him yet. So that's why I'm a little concerned about the Old Testament. And now I do believe that, I mean, I believe in Jesus. I believe in God. I sincerely do. I'm just for the first time reading the Bible, and to hear that instead of trying to convert these people, that he's just outright killing them, to me, that's a slight problem. I keep saying, and I said this from the beginning, and it's not trying to be blasphemous, but I keep saying that the Lord that is described here is definitely not the same as Jesus. And I mean, I don't, I know, like, for some people, it'll say that's blasphemous, but like I said, this whole story, there are so many things that go uneasy with me as I read this. But let's go on. So, right now, there's a mode of deception going on. They are from um, from the land that worships Astaroth, who is a goddess that has been before the Lord has even come into the picture among the world. I'm not saying the Lord didn't exist. The Lord existed, but the Lord never taught anything at this time. All they knew was Asherah. So what they're doing is they're being deceitful, these people. They're coming to the children of Israel. They're pretending to be servants. They are putting on bad things. They have the moldy bread and this and that, and they're trying to come in with the children of Israel so that they can create like a treaty or be a part of it. So they just came up to Joshua, and Joshua was asking them, "Where are you from?" And they're like, "Oh, we're from the faraway land, but we heard about the Lord." Okay, so wherefore our elders, and I'm sorry, we're on chapter 9, verse 11. Wherefore our elders and all the inhabitants of our country spoke to us, saying, Take victuals with you for the journey. Go meet them and say unto them that we are your servants. Therefore now make us in league. This is our bread we took, hot for our provision, out of our houses on the day we came forth to go unto you. But now behold, it's dry, it's moldy. Okay, so it's not that they were bringing bad things to them, they were trying to pretend that they were on such a long journey that their bread molded, their clothing molded. Okay, so that's a little different scenario. All right, so they're pretending they came from even further than where they actually were, but they're still being deceitful. And these bottles of wine which we filled were new, and behold, they're rent. Rent in this case means that they spoiled, that they're bad. And these are our garments, and our shoes have become old by reason of the very long journey. So they're basically outright lying. See, I misunderstood when I was reading it a couple of chapters before. I'm thinking, okay, they're purposely bringing bad stuff to them because they want to try to make a treaty with them, but they are giving them bad things. That's not the case at all. No, the deception is they're bringing the old stuff so that they could pretend they're coming from either an even farther land, and they made such a long journey just to be here. They're complete liars. They're being deceitful. So they're showing that through their clothing, through their food, through their shoes, that yes, it's been such a long journey, and we came just to be with you. All right, let's see. So the men took out their victuals and asked not counsel at the mouth of the Lord. Okay, I'm a little confused about something. I gotta look this up. What is a victual? I know this is mentioned before, but okay, define victual in the Bible. Okay, let's see what that says. All right, so victuals are provisions, supplies. Okay, so basically, this is their supplies. So it's their supplies and food. So, and the men took out their victuals, so their food supply, and asked not counsel at the mouth of the Lord. And Joshua made peace with them and made a league with them to let them live, and the princes of the congregation swear unto them. All right, so he's like, Yes, you're welcome, come on in. But remember, these people are probably going to be deceitful. And it came to pass at the end of 3 days, after they had made league with them, and they heard that they were neighbors and that they dwelt among them. The children of Israel journeyed and came to their cities on the third day. Now their cities were Gibeon and Chephera and Bethera and Kithajarara. And the children of Israel smote them not, because the princes of the congregation had sworn unto the Lord God of Israel. And all the congregation murmured against the princes. Okay, so now this is interesting. Now it's making me wonder, were they being deceitful or were they being genuine? Or is this just a ploy to save the city? Because Joshua was supposed to come in with the children of Israel and decimate these lands. But because they made a pact with these, quote, servants, they didn't do it. So I'm wondering how the Lord is going to react because he's not doing what he's supposed to be doing. But all the princes said unto all the congregation, We have sworn them by the Lord God of Israel. Now, therefore, we may not touch them. This is what we'll do to them. We will even let them live, lest wrath be upon us, because the oath which we swore unto them. So now, whose oath is more important? Is it the oath of God, or is it the oath of the princes? Good question. I have no idea. Let's see how this turns out. The princes said unto them, Let them live, but let them be hewers of wood and drawers of water unto the congregation, as the princes had promised them. I'm assuming hewers means like an axeman or something. I'm just going to check that out because I don't know. Define hewers in the Bible. Let's see. Okay, yes. A hewer is a person who cuts wood, stone, or other materials. It is a miner. Okay, so hewer is like an axeman, a person who cuts the woods. So when he says, let them be hewers of wood and drawers of water, gathering water, onto the congregation as the princess has promised them. And Joshua called out to them, and he spoke unto them, saying, wherefore have ye beguiled us, saying, we are from far away, when you dwelt among us? Okay, so now he's pointing out that that they're lying. Oh, good morning, Kaz. Oh, don't worry, don't be sorry. I started a little early. I started around 9 o'clock, so I just I was very anxious and I needed to do something to get off my mind. But welcome to the show. We just started chapter 9, so I'm on chapter 9, verse 23 of Joshua. Yeah, basically, I started out with a little story. I started out with a prayer. We spoke a little bit about the snow, and then I spoke a little bit about motivational post, and I read a motivational post about addiction on Facebook. So that's how the morning went. But welcome. I'm glad you're here, and I hope everything is okay. That you're safe and sound, and that the weather isn't too bad on your end. We here have about 4 inches and it's still snowing. So that's why I'm wrapped up in my shawl and I'm trying to take it easy today. But yeah, I'm not going anywhere. I am officially snowed in, and I think I'm going to be snowed in for about a week because I am not going out there to shovel at all. It could pile up for 10 feet for all I care. It's staying there, and then eventually the sun will melt it. I was praying this morning and asked God to silence any distraction. So I figured that's why. Okay, no, that's great. If you needed time to focus, to center yourself, to pray, avoid any distraction, no, that's a good thing. So, but I'm glad that you came in, and I'm hoping that you are centered, focusing, that you feel better. You have solid ice, nothing but ice. There's a mound of ice in your backyard. Please be careful. I mean, one of the things, I mean, this is a fear of me when it comes to falling because I'm very uneasy on my feet. So I know that if I walk on like snow or ice, I'm gonna fall. And I'm not wishing it, but I've fell so many times in my life that I know I'm not going out there. That's why I said the snow could pile up for all I care. I'm not going anywhere. Okay, yeah, don't go anywhere. Stay warm, stay safe. That's what it is. I've got my cats, I've got my food, I've got my Bible. Right now I've got power and heat, so I'm fine. If I lose power and heat, I've got my fireplace. So and I'll just bring all the animals and we'll curl up and I'll see if the cats can handle the dogs and that sort of thing. Hey, don't start with me. Sorry, she's grabbing onto my shawl. So yes, please be careful. All right, so we're on chapter 9, verse 23. So now Joshua is calling them out in their lie because he's saying to them, you just told us you're from a land far away. However, you're from here. So I think this makes an interesting dilemma because they made a promise before the Lord that they're not going to hurt them and they're welcome to be in league with the group. However, now they just found out that they weren't from far away, that they're actually from the town that they're about to destroy. So that's a very, very interesting dilemma. So I almost want to say, whose promise or whose pact or oath do they listen to? Do they listen to the oath of God? Do they listen to the oath that they created with man? That's going to create a dilemma. And I almost want to know, because they lied, does that invalidate the oath that they created? So I'm going to see how this comes into play. So Joshua called for them, and he spoke unto them, saying, Wherefore have ye beguiled us, saying that we are from far away, when ye dwelt among us? Now therefore ye are cursed. Okay, here comes the curse. And there shall be none of you freed from being bondmen, and hewers of wood and drawers of water for the house of my God. Good morning, issues. Welcome to the show. And they answered Joshua and said, because it was certainty told thy servants how that the Lord thy God commanded his servant Moses to give you all this land and to destroy and annihilate of the lands before you. Therefore, we sore afraid of our lives because of you and have done this thing. Okay, we are on chapter 9, verse 24. Now, this is interesting if you think about the situation. Okay, so you have these people in a land, and they're hearing what is happening to the other lands. They're hearing that the children of Israel are coming and decimating, destroying everything, killing everything in the name of the Lord. So these people come, pretend to be coming from a far away, go to the children of Israel and say, we travel far away. Do we have a promise that we're safe? Joshua makes an oath to the Lord that says, yes, you are protected among us, not knowing that they are from the city that they're just about to destroy. So they're lying. So now Joshua calls them out and says, wait a minute, you lied to us. So now they ask an interesting question, and he's going to curse them. They said to him, because they're answering him as to why they're lied, and they said, because it was certainly told by our servants that how the Lord God commanded you to give you all the land and to destroy everything, which is a valid thing. They're going up to him and said, look, we lied to you because you're about to destroy us in the name of your God. We're here because we want to protect ourselves. So it's an interesting reason. As I'm going to check out what happens next. This is interesting. I don't know who broke the oath to God, but they're the ones who will suffer for it. Well, the one, because there's two oaths. The original oath to God by the children of Israel says we're going to destroy everything. The manipulation is that the children of Israel or Joshua thought that these two servants were from a faraway land, not from the land that they're about to destroy. So Joshua made an oath on behalf of God that says, yes, you are safe. You can come here. So now there's actually two oaths in the name of God. I'm going to check out what happens next because one is an oath made from deceit, the other one is an oath made as a command. All right. And now behold, we are in thy hand, as it's something good and right to do unto us. And so he did unto them, and delivered them out of the hand of the children of Israel, that they slew him not. And Joshua made them the day of hewers of wood and drawers for the congregation, and for the altar of the Lord, even unto this day, in the place that he should choose. Okay, so he did save them. But how did he save them? Is the fact that he made them slaves. So that's interesting. Because they humbled themselves and were honest and repentant, God spared them. I'm sorry, Joshua spared them. So both paths were honored, both oaths. They were. The question, there was one thing that I brought up, Kaz, and I think, I'm sorry, Issues is here too. Hi, Issues. Um, there was one thing that I brought out that was interesting, and this ties into what I said yesterday, and it's going to be a little disturbing. But I find it interesting is that from our point of view now, this is all the past. So we know the story of Jesus, we know the story of this and that. But let's take it from the point of view of these people. So as of right now, they're only hearing about the Lord from the stories being told of the destruction. So these people technically don't know anything about the Lord's testimony. They don't know about the rules. They don't know. And the part that I really, really have a problem with, and please forgive me on this, is that instead of the Lord commanding the children of Israel to go about and convert these people, he's automatically commanding them to destroy these people. And I find a flaw with that, because then that goes into the manner of, you are killing people who had no knowledge of what the Lord was, and no knowledge of what the potential of creating um a relationship with the Lord. Now you say it's because he knows that they are not redeemable. Is that the case though? Because even I want to say, because they're destroying everything. They're even destroying the children. So I mean, a baby is not redeemable. They have knowledge because they know about Noah. Okay, good point. That is a good point. But um, I'm going to pause for a second. Remember, I said the Bible to me repeats itself? Like things keep repeating over and over and over and over again. And one of the things I pointed out is that the Lord keeps doing something repetitively and we still don't get it. So the first thing was Tower of Babel. Destroyed Babel, we still didn't learn. Destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, we still didn't learn. Started all fresh and new with Noah, we still didn't learn. Doing the children of Israel, did still not learn. So we're still not getting the lesson. Now, it just dawned on me because you said because they know about Noah. Does that mean that there's the same dilemma with Adam and Eve is happening with Noah? Because technically, and this is a good question, because technically, if everything was destroyed on earth and there was only Noah and his family, then that means the earth repopulated all over again just by Noah and his family. So you would think that everything that would be repopulating would only be the knowledge of Noah and his family. So my question now becomes, how did the world gets so expansive with people, once again, strictly from Noah, and why did the knowledge of all these other gods that should have been eradicated come into fruition once again? Okay, so wait, let me go back because you're saying a lot. All right, he knows they're not redeemable. They have knowledge because they know about Noah. The children and babies aren't being destroyed. Think of it as a child from a bad home. But they are being destroyed. They weren't taking any slaves whatsoever. These towns, they are decimating and killing everything, including all the animals. The children is in a destructive home. What do? You rescue. He didn't rescue them. They killed them. But one of Nova's sons. Oh, okay. One of. So that whole went sideways. Quick question: did we read about one of Noah's sons being cursed, or does that come in at a later note? Because why am I not realizing that one of Noah's sons was cursed? I mean, does that come in another story, or I totally missed that line? Because they can't take the child and rescue them like they can now. Yeah, so they had to kill them. Um, but I'm just curious. One of the Noah's sons, you can't just take you can't just take a child from its family like you can now. So God rescued them by bringing them home. So by them killing them, it was an automatic heaven. Is that what it is? Which I think is a valid question. Yes, you read it. The son who saw his father's. Okay, thank you. Now I remember that. Okay, I thought I missed that for some reason because I'm like, wait a minute. Which son was cursed? The one who's, which is interesting if you think about it. Going back to Adam and Eve, they were cursed with their nakedness, and now you're saying the son who saw his father's nakedness. So there's almost a repetitiveness about the idea that when there's an awareness of nakedness. That's an interesting little point. So thank you for bringing that up. Ham was the name. Let me write that down. Okay, so Ham, Noah's son. Okay. Yeah, sometimes I'll be honest, this is a lot of information. And I know we talk about a lot of things. So sometimes I won't remember an exact story and just need a little refresher. So thank you for explaining that because I'm like, I don't remember a son being cursed. We focus on the line of Jesus, and that's family stories. But there are millions of other people. Correct. There's millions of other people going on right now. I was watching an interesting. Sometimes I got to be careful with the things I watch, but I was watching an interesting video, and this is from the Gnostic point of view. And I know a lot of people say don't listen to the Gnostic point of view, but in it makes sense. So in part of the Gnostic gospels that are banned, but they're still gospels that were written, they talk about the story of the flood. And in that story of the flood, Noah was not the only ark built. There was actually other arks that were scattered around throughout the world. So, on one end, that would make sense as to how the world populated so quickly and also populated with the different gods because Noah wasn't the only ark that was saved during the Great Flood. Now, immediately people could say, don't listen to that. That's blasphemous. However, if you think about it in that respect, it would make sense as to how quickly the corruption spread because even though Ham was cursed, we're still under the fact that, okay, so you mean to tell me the entire world repopulated simply by Noah and his sons and their sisters repopulating with each other and getting to this point of the children of Israel, you have millions and millions and millions of people who are now totally against the Lord. It's an interesting theory. They say it's spoken in the banned gospels, but I wonder. Okay, check it out. The Egyptians who took the Israelites into bondage were from the line of Ham. Okay, so that's interesting. Okay. So instantly, like I said, instantly Ham is like, I'm not praying to the Lord. I'm cursed. I'm not praying to Lord. I'm going to pray to the old gods. And because I'm praying to the old gods, my children are now, but it still doesn't explain the multiple gods. I mean, I would, unless that's what he prayed to, he prayed to multiple gods. So all these people that were coming against him about God, they chose to reject him, which makes sense. Hello, Susan. Welcome to the show. Um, I didn't miss anything. I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything. I just, I mean, I'm not trying. I'm not trying to be. I'm not trying to say this is wrong, but I'm trying to make it make sense. And like I said, in regards to Adam and Eve, the world would have been at zero population. It would have only been Adam and Eve. So then the question is, okay, how did Cain? So now we get to Noah. Once again, the world would be at zero population. So it begs the question of how did we get all those people, even from the lineage? And remember, if you don't know that there's anything else around you, then you're only going to know the story of what is being told from that point of view. And like I said, I don't know if this is true or not, but potentially, if there were other arcs and other people saved, then that would make sense as to how quickly, because even this, the Lord is already saying that there are false gods, that there are false deities, there are false idols. And it already showed through the acts of the Pharisees that they can mimic the power of the Lord. It's not as powerful, but they could still mimic and manipulate it. So it makes me wonder, did these gods mimic the ark and saved other people as well so that they could save their lineage as well? It's just it wouldn't be spoken in this lineage because we're only seeing it from the point of view of Noah and his family. It's an interesting debate. It's different. Um, all right, so check out the Egyptian who took the Israelites. They were from Line and a Ham. So all these people that are coming up against him about God, they chose to reject him. Susan, good morning. So you started off saying, what if these people don't know about God? It's not fair. They know about God. The whole world did at that time. And somewhere it says you have no excuse not to know because all you have to do is look at creation. Pharaoh, not Pharisees. Pharisees were okay. Even the Pharaoh. Okay, I said Pharisees. I'm sorry, but what I'm talking about is the Pharaoh time when they were in Egypt, and Moses was doing one form of miracles, and the magicians of the Pharaoh was doing the exact same miracles, but their miracles were more diluted than Noah's miracle. So, in other words, they still had the power they were mimicking, it just wasn't as strong. Okay, so you're like, I mean, it just makes me wonder because that would be an interesting reason, counterfeit power, but it's still power, and it's still power, especially if they put their intentions to it. So it makes me wonder because this would actually be the case. Noah wouldn't have this knowledge if there were other arcs that were built in the name of these demigods or in the name of demons. Noah would have no knowledge of this. It's an idea. I don't know how true it is, but it would make sense. If Satan has power, demons have power, it's just not from God. Exactly. And I agree with that. I totally agree with that. So I'm just wondering if, as a counterpoint, did Satan create an ark to protect his demonic um, servants so that at the time that Noah came out of the ark, they also came out of the ark somewhere else in the plan. Noah knew what he needed to know when he needed to know it, which was a message from God. God said, build an ark. Noah said, cool, okay. He did. Would demons know the same thing? I don't know. It's a question. I really don't know. Okay. All right. So now back to Joshua. God revealed things to him when he needed it. Okay. Some comments in this were filtered. Okay, so somebody's right. I don't know. It could be the trolls. But if you are saying anything, I hope it's not filtering you, Kaz, because I just got a message that some things are being filtered. Demons are in the spirit realm and have to work through people. Okay. Would the spirit realm know, in addition, what God knows? Demons can't build anything, but they can use people to build them. So that's what I'm saying. If they knew about the flood, they can have them build as well. Or it could have been like a game of telephone, because if Noah is building this ark, they would know that they're building and say, okay, you need to build an ark as well. If you're asking if the demons told someone else to build an ark, well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. I'm saying at the time that Noah built an ark, is it possible that demonic forces heard about this and ordered their minions to build an ark as well. But Noah doesn't know about it, and that's why the perspective is only through Noah, and that is why, you know what I mean? Well, it says the whole world was destroyed, so no, not through God. Even if they built another ark, it would have been destroyed because God would have not allowed it to survive. I I don't know. Like I said, not okay. There's two points of view. There's Gnostic and agnostic. All right, so that's something. So I was actually when 21 came in yesterday, and I said to him, "Do you refer to yourself as agnostic?" He actually corrected me, and he says, "No, I'm Gnostic. I believe in God." And I thought that was an interesting thing. So I'm like, okay, now I know the perspective. I always thought he was agnostic because I didn't want to answer it, and that's why I questioned him on that in the show yesterday. And it just so happens something popped up in regards to why it explained that there were so many people after the flood. Like, how did the world populate so quickly if the flood was destroyed completely? Because even with lineage, it doesn't make sense how we got up to this point with this many people around the world with the children of Israel if only it was Noah and his sons and daughters. Because demon power is one thing, but God will always be stronger and more powerful. And I agree with that. The only thing that I disagree as of right now, and I know it bothers people that I disagree with this, I'm still trying to figure out the character of the Lord. I really am. I'm trying to figure out the character of the Lord. And I know that sounds weird, but not to bring confusion, not to bring anything. I'm just trying to see different perspectives. And the fact is, I mean, even we acknowledge that there's demons, that there's evil, that there's Satan. And Satan, while it's a false sense of power, still tries to mimic and manipulate and try to be God. So I'm just wondering, would that explain how all these people still survived worshiping other gods? Because I almost want to say, even with Ham would have only worshipped one god. He wouldn't worship this many gods. Or am I wrong? Did he really? Because then that would be saying that Ham is the father of all these gods, if you think about it, spreading all these gods, giving these gods power. Okay, because this BC Noah to Abraham, it was almost 1700 years. Who who the who the Jesus Christ was, same for me. I'm a little confused what you mean, Susan. Good morning, Sarah. Yeah, Sarah, I'm on an interesting question. You can have a lot of babies, and absolutely, that is true. But what that's telling me is, okay, just think about this for a minute. So Ham is cursed because he saw the father's nakedness. So Ham goes off and starts having children. Now, obviously, this is 1700 years later, so children after children after children. So, in my belief, and I could be wrong, wouldn't Ham only be serving one god? So where did the other gods come into place? Where did the other knowledge? Because Ham would have probably taught his sons and daughters that says, okay, we worship Moloch, we worship Balapiorte, we worship Ashtaroth. Uh, oh, so you're saying the fallen angels. So okay, so Sarah, you made an excellent point. I do have a question, and this I don't know. The fallen angels can never be destroyed. Are they immortal? Because I guess that's where my misunderstanding is. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, we haven't talked about the fallen angels yet, have we? Because I know there's fallen angels, but we haven't made mention to fallen angels yet. We have? Okay. then it might have been many times we talked about the fallen angel. No, I'm talking about the Bible up until this point. Okay, Susan is saying not yet. Yeah, because I don't remember we've talked about fallen angels, but I'm saying the Bible at this point has not really mentioned. Okay, wait. I want to see that. I'm curious. Hold on. When is the first fallen angel talked about? Okay. All right, so they are mentioned in Genesis 6:1. We do talk about that, the fallen ones. But what I'm saying is, my question is, the fallen angels were kicked out, the Nephilim, but weren't the Nephilim destroyed during the flood, or they still survived after the flood? Okay, not yet. In the end, they'll be sent to the lake of fire. The fallen angels were all the angels that chose to follow Satan when he was kicked out. Oh, biblically? Okay, so no, we're not there yet. Okay, that explains it. We did make a mention to Nephilim because that's what also caused um the giant the Nephilim or the giants were from the fallen angels, but it was one blurb. We haven't actually talked about the fallen angels. When Lucifer was kicked out of heaven, he took some with him. But as of right now, Lucifer has not been, I mean, he has been possibly, but it wasn't talked about, or am I wrong? At what point? Okay, Isaiah. Okay, we haven't gotten to that yet. All right, so that makes sense as to why I don't know what we're talking about. All right, so biblically we're not there yet, which is fine, and that's why I know my view is a little confusing because I know the story, but I don't really know the story. If that makes sense. Okay, so biblically we're not there. When Lucifer was kicked out of heaven, he took some with him. So I think the Nephilim are the children of the fallen angels. They are. Nephilim are the children of the fallen angels. The Nephilim were created by angels who chose to become human. Demons are angels that chose to go with Satan. Okay, so now this is my question. And I don't know because apparently, as the Bible progresses, the Bible is going to go back in time and talk about events from previous. Okay, which makes sense. That does make sense. So, where we are right now, certain acts happened, but as far as the Bible goes, we haven't learned those yet. So my question was, so the fallen angels were not destroyed in a flood. Okay, that makes sense then, because my question was, how did these gods reappear for people to worship if Noah was the only family left on this world? That created the whole Adam and Eve dilemma. How did Cain get his wife if only Adam and Eve were on this world, on this earth? One of two things is either Adam and Eve were not the only people on this earth and we're just seeing it from the point of view. Same with Noah, he was not the only person, his family was not the only person, that there was other things. So the question I was throwing out was, in the Gnostic view, they are saying that there actually was more arks that were built, and those arks carried the people who worshipped other gods. I don't know how true. From Noah's point of view, he destroyed the whole earth. Noah would not know about those other people. But from the other's point of view, it's very well possible that they do know. So let me go back a little bit. Okay, so fallen angels. Even the Bible says they were here after the flood in regards to giants. Absolutely. But if the world was destroyed, why were the giants not destroyed? Exactly. So if the world was destroyed, why were they not destroyed? Because then that means that once again, the fallen angels are procreating with humans if the giants are coming back. It only says Noah's family. But that's what I'm saying. From a biblical standpoint, if this is only one story of many stories, then yes, Noah's family is the only one that's going to be left. If there's other stories, then there would be a perspective that there's also more than one people. Now, info, I think maybe more giants could have been created. Well, exactly. That's what I'm saying. You guys are telling me that the fallen angels still exist. So if they still exist after the flood, then all they have to do is recreate more giants. Maybe new giants created, absolutely. And that could be what they're referring to, a race of giants like there were here before the flood. Because the fallen angels are mortal, they are spiritual beings. I think Noah's family was the only one left and new giants came along, which does make sense. It does. So what that means is the fallen angels are once again procreating with, and that's why we're getting all these religions. Or, and I'm just giving this as a flip side, or if you take the gospels, which have been banned, and these are the gospels that are probably that are in the Ethiopian Bible. If you read the Ethiopian Bible, it will explain about the multiple arcs, and it will explain that how these other gods came about. So, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I want to read it, but at the same time, I don't want to read it. All right. So, I think Noah's family was the only one left, and new giants came along. But they became human, no? Which makes them mortal now. Or are you talking about demons? Honestly, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just throwing out different ideas because obviously at this point, if it's 1700 years later, so in 1700 years, what ended up happening during that time, because let's make the absolute assumption it's just Noah and his family and that's it. So in 1700 years, one, the world repopulated massively. Okay, it completely massively repopulated. As the world repopulated massively, you still have the reemergence of the old ways of the old gods. So somebody is teaching these people about the old gods. It could absolutely be demons. It could absolutely be the Anunnaki. It could be the fallen angels. So somebody's teaching these people about that. From where? Not from Noah's sons' wives. Well, that's the question, Eddie, is because there are banned texts that are no longer in the Bible. At one point, they were in the Bible. So it goes back to Council of Nicaea, where they started ripping apart books. They're taking books out that were originally in the Bible. Now, the reason is that they are not part of the canon. They are not historically proven. They are not from multiple points of view. So, which I understand. Okay, take those books out. But just because you're taking these books out doesn't mean it's not a story in existence. So part of these stories in existence talks about multiple people in the flood, talks about the multiple demons, and it's an interesting thing. So because people had like 10 to 15 kids at a time, absolutely, they kept being fruitful, multiplying. Um, they were, but taken out. Wait. Yeah, there were books written that were taken out of the Bible. And they're called the banned gospels. They are still in the Ethiopian Bible. So if you read the Ethiopian Bible, there are 66, how many books in, I believe 66, which is such a bad number, I think. Okay, my mistake. There are 88 books. Well, okay, it's either 81 or 88 books, depending upon which one you look at. There is the Ethiopian Orthodox Church with 81 books, and then there are other churches with 88 books. How many books in? Okay, so the interesting, and I'm just saying, it's interesting how the Bible now has 66 books, but the original Ethiopian Bible had 88 books. Just something to think about. Um, From the text, we can only infer Noah's genetics were not corrupted if Ham himself wasn't. But Ham was cursed. So if Ham was cursed, he's going to follow a lineage of hold on, I'm sorry. Okay. He was going to follow a lineage of whatever god he was serving. I don't necessarily know which god he was serving, but at this point right now, with the children of Israel, we still have multiple gods in existence. So that literally means that the flood really didn't do anything. And that's why we keep getting the repetition of destruction. Because, like I said, each time the Lord is doing some sort of massive destruction and eradication, and it's not doing anything. The gods, the old gods, keep coming back, the old ways, which could be the influence of demons, of fallen angels, of generational curses. Because I think we focus on Shem and his lineage to Jesus, not so much of the other sons. Then we question Noah's wife could be Ham's wife. No, I mean Ham's family may have had daughters who bred with angels too. Correct. We don't know because that's what's interesting about the Bible. And I mean, forgive me for saying this. We are seeing one perspective. Okay. In all these stories, we are seeing, for lack of better words, the storyteller telling what he witnesses the world around him. But he is only one witness. In the Torah, we were getting the point of view of Moses. Now we're getting the point of view of Joshua. Yes, they're filling in the whole information of what's going around, but it's from technically like the point of view of Joshua. What if we turn around and said, okay, like the king of Bashan, the one that they destroyed, how would he view the world from his perspective? How would Reba view the world from her perspective? So I know that's like very deep to think about, but yes, we're seeing these stories based on one person's perspective, but not the perspective of everybody else around the world. Um, we absolutely can't be sure. This is one, right? This is one of those nobody knows, and that's why I'm questioning. And I mean, it probably makes no sense to question this, but it's like, what if we were in the same thing? Okay, so take she was in one of the cities they were sent to destroy. Okay, so listening to Rahab's words, if she was supposed to tell this story and explain it, I guarantee that there's a different perspective of how she would see this world. Yeah, she still knew and worshiped God, right, from what she heard, because she even says, I heard about the Lord and what he has done. I'm curious though, before she heard about the Lord and what he's done in reference to the children of Israel, did she know about the Lord before that? You know what I mean? She only heard about the Lord because of the destruction of the cities that they were destroying. That's how she heard about the Lord. From my point of view, if Ham is spreading, and this is going back to Noah, if Ham is spreading his story, he's not going to talk about the Lord. He's only going to talk about whatever God he serves, whether it be Moloch or Ashtoreth or whatever. Yeah, I would think so, somewhere in Ham's line. So these cities we're destroying knew about God, but chose to. Yeah, but that's just it. They know about God from a destructive point of view. That's what I'm saying. They don't know the testimony that God gave to the children of Israel. They don't know about the promised land or anything like that. They're only hearing about the destruction aspect. So I'm thinking from their point of view would be a very different story. Sorry, I'm back. My son wanted me to be his first view on his. Your son did a YouTube video? Oh, Sarah, that's so cute. I mean, maybe they still know. I see. I don't know. I mean, like these are answers we don't know, but it's one of those interesting perspectives. It's like, okay, think about that for a minute. But I'm going to contend this will be something you'll never know. We never will know the answer. Is there a book on Israel? Um, you mean from the point of view of Abraham, or like I'm sorry, Jacob? I mean, right? Jacob turns to Israel, right? Or was it? Uh, I'm looking this up because I don't know. Uh, okay, wait. Because the promised land belonged to Abraham and his line, Susan wants to know: is there a book on Israel? You know what? I want to just check something out. What are okay, so I'm just going to read this real quick. It is up to you to decide. There are 75 books that were removed from the original Bible. So when they did the council, 75 books were removed. So I'm just going to read a couple. I'm not going to just the names of them, just a couple of them, because some of this could be really interesting. There is a gospel of the infancy of Jesus Christ. There is a gospel of Thomas. There is an epistle of Barnabas. There is a letter to Pilate by King Herod. There is the lost gospel of Peter, the book of Enoch. There is the book of the Maccabees. In fact, there's multiple book of the Maccabees. There is the book of Baruch, the shepherd of Hermas. There's wisdom of Solomon. So there's a whole bunch of wisdoms. There's a book of giants. I'm not reading all of them. I'm just looking at what stands out. There's the story of Susanna, the story of Bel and the dragon, the story of Akabar, and there's the prayer of Manasseh. Now, Manasseh has been mentioned many times. There is the testament of the 12 patriarchs. Here's your answer. There is a testament of Abraham and the apocalypse of Abraham. Now, remember, these are the banned books. So at one point, these 75 books was in addition to this. However, church scholars have agreed to remove all these books. So I say just because you remove these books doesn't necessarily mean that these stories are false or that these stories don't exist. So somewhere, for some reason, these stories were written down and told, but they were removed from the Bibles today. So yeah, extra biblical text. There's 75 more texts that are not included in this. Maccabees is the story of the Jewish people and why Hanukkah is a thing. Susan says yes. I think they were escaping from Alexander the Great. Maybe not. Not false, but not accurate or verified. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. They're not false. And part of me thinks if we were to read these 75 books, would it explain the gaps of what's going on here? And would it potentially explain some of the secrets that we really don't know? I don't know. I've never read any of these, but I do know, and that's why I get so confused, is a lot of times when I watch little videos and stuff like this, they start referring to things that happen in these gospels tied into the Bible. And it's like, well, wait a minute, that is the answer. It's like reading unauthorized autobiography. Exactly. It may not be authorized, but it's still part of the story. So I'm thinking that there is, in fact, there's another one. There is a book on the conflict of Adam and Eve with Satan, which is interesting because in Genesis, which is now being um, when we refer to the serpent, it doesn't refer to the serpent as Satan, which that is one of the questions I have. I said, so the serpent is Satan. We don't necessarily know. Right now it's an assumption because the serpent was never called Satan. However, there's a book that is specifically the conflict of Adam and Eve with Satan. So that makes sense if the serpent was Satan because of that accompanied text. All right. Okay. I think not false. It's like reading unauthorized, like TMZ version of 60 Minutes, right? But we don't know how much is true. Absolutely. But there may be truth in it. We don't know. So I'm saying, like, I don't want to dismiss it completely, but it may provide answers that we've been asking all along. So there's 75 more books that we don't know. All right. Let's get back to this. Because I know it's a circular argument and I don't want to, I'm not trying to debate or anything like that. Well, I do debate, but you know what I mean? I'm not trying to bring misinformation. What I'm trying to do is, like, okay, there is the possibility that the answers are in there, but we're never going to know. We really don't know. The answers may be hidden. And we already know, Susan, absolutely, the answer may be hidden. Already, as I read this, the answers are in here, but it's in the form of a metaphor or a symbolism or an underlying stories. It's literally like you have to read between the lines in order to understand it. Referring to the serpent in the garden. Yeah, the story that we know as of right now, we don't know that the serpent in the garden is Satan. But everybody keeps pointing and saying, yeah, the serpent is Satan. From the text alone here, it doesn't. Oh, but it does say in Revelations. Okay, so you got to skip all the way to the future. All right, so that makes sense. So 12:9 calls Satan at the calls it, and okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I know that's the downside of going chronologically. But if things keep going, if things keep getting explained from the past point of view, we just haven't gotten there yet. Hold on one second. It's starting to get warm in here. I think the house is heating up. It's still snowing. I've got like, you can't even see the road. It's snowing. I had to, oops. Uh-oh. Hold on. There we go. Yeah, I had to take off my shawl. I have to shut the heat. For whatever reason, we must have had a blackout last night that I didn't know, because when I woke up, the heat was completely off. It wasn't turned on at all, and it was 57 degrees. So it was cold in this house. The poor cats, the poor dogs. I turned the heat on, so by now I think it's a little too hot in here. Okay, so Revelations. I think I'm up to date. Yes, I am up to date. All right, let's go back to this. The only thing is I forgot where I was. Oh, we're in chapter 10. We're just starting chapter 10. So Joshua 10. All right, so now it came to pass when Adonizedek, king of Jerusalem, had heard how Joshua has taken Ai and utterly destroyed it, and he's done to Jericho and her king, so he had done to Ai and her king, and how the inhabitants of Gibeon had made peace with Israel and were among them. Okay, I just find this as an interesting little thing. The Bible refers to land as her. You know what I mean? Like these names are feminine, not masculine. I don't know if that has any significance, but it's like, as he has done to Jericho and her king, to Ai and her king. So it's just an interesting thing. So yeah, so towns are referred in the feminine way. All right. They feared greatly because Gibeon was a great city, as one of the royal cities, and because it was greater than Ai, and all the men were mighty. Wherefore Adonizedek, king of Jerusalem, sent unto Hoam, king of Hebron, and unto Piram, king of Jarmuth, and unto Jepai, king of, and unto Deber, king of Edom. Okay, so basically this king is saying, hey, wait a minute. We need to take this into consideration because these children of Israel are destroying a very powerful city and they're coming our way. So warning, warning, warning. So that's what he's doing. He's spreading the word out. We've got to be prepared because they're going to destroy us. Um, Wisdom is also referred to as feminine. It calls Israel and Jerusalem Shelah. Yeah, that's what I mean. I think that's interesting that it's feminine. So I almost want to say, like, if land is feminine, what would be masculine as far as topography? If there is a masculine, I don't know, but it's she. Oh, you were just gonna say that too. Yeah. It came upon to me and helped me that we may smite Gibeon, for it had made peace with Joshua and the children of Israel. Therefore, the five kings of the Amorites, the king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jarmuth, and the king of Lachish, the king of Eglon, gathered themselves together and went on to all their hosts and encamped before Gibeon and made war against it. Okay, so now this is going to be a massive war. You've got five kingdoms coming together to try to destroy the children of Israel. That this is a brutal war. Also, God's children are the bride of Christ. Bride of Christ. I'm just curious, is that in correlation to nuns? Because nuns are brides of Christ as well. The men of Gibeon sent unto Joshua to the camp of Gilgal, saying, Slack not thy hand from thy servants. Come up to us quickly and save us and help us. For all the kings of the Amorites against the dwell in the mountains are gathered against us. So Joshua ascended from Gilgal, and he said, The people of war with him and all the mighty men. And the Lord said unto Joshua, Fear them not, for I have delivered them unto thy hand. There shall not be a man of them stand before thee. Um okay, so wait, hold on. Like Jesus is the groom preparing a place for his bride, and when he returns for his bride, us. Nuns are married to Christ. Exactly. And it takes us to heaven. We will enjoy the marriage supper of the Lamb. Also, like a full submission thing, we are chosen to be his bride. He chose us. I'm sorry. That's beautiful, actually. If you are saved by the blood of Jesus, you are his bride. I just got to write that down. Okay. I just had to write that down. Sorry. Joshua came up unto them suddenly and went up to Gilgal all night. And the Lord discomforted them before Israel and slew them with a great slaughter at Gibeon, and chased them along the way that go up to Beel, and smote them to Azgaba and onto Mount. Okay, interesting. It was the Lord that killed them. Lord said to Joshua, Fear them not, for I have delivered them to thy hand. There shall not be a man. Okay, because he's saying basically it was Lord's doing that gathered them all together. There are five nations all together. Joshua came upon them suddenly, went up to Gilgal. So now Joshua is going up there with, I'm assuming, his army. The Lord discomfited them before Israel and slew them with a great slaughter at Gibeon and chased them along the way that go up to. So it was actually the Lord that killed them, not the people, correct? Yeah, God will fight the fight with you. Yeah. And it came to pass as they fled from before Israel and they were going down to Bethlehem that the Lord cast down great stones from heaven upon them onto Azekah, and they died. They were more which died with hailstones than they were whom the children of Israel slew with the sword. Interesting. Okay, so God joined in by opening up the heavens and throwing stones, which literally, and I mean, hailstones. So, and hailstones could be deadly depending upon the size of them. I mean, we've had hailstorms where it was the size of literally like a golf ball, which is crazy. I've never seen anything like that. So it makes me wonder, when we have hailstorms, is that like the wrath of God coming down upon us? Something to think about. I don't know. I will say this though. I don't know if anybody's been following the weird theories about this storm, but this storm is so strange. It really is. Yeah, you've seen grapefruits, and they get big. I mean, I'm just saying, I've never seen anything bigger than a golf ball, but even a hailstone the size of a golf ball, that could do so much damage. I mean, imagine like something the size of a softball hitting you on your head. Like, you can instantly die like that. And they come down at the speed of bullets almost. So yeah, so they're even saying the Lord cast down great stones from heaven upon Azkaban, and they died. They were more which died with the hailstones than who the children. So God actually killed more of the people than the children of Israel did. He helped them out. Yes, Sarah, I know you're on the weather manipulation. I will say this. I said this to my mom, and I'm just going to pause. And I'm not really trying to talk conspiracy theories, but I don't even say that this is a conspiracy theory anymore. I want to say this is a theory, and now it's becoming truth. I said, because my mom is 67 years old. And I said, Mom, in your 67 years, please tell me something honestly. It's like, what? I says, I've known you. I know you've been through numerous snowstorms. I mean, she used to tease and tell me how she would walk in like 6 foot of snow to get to school. I understand that. I says, but even in those times where you've done that much walking, have you ever heard of a storm that practically went through the entire United States? I mean, seriously. Like, I shouldn't say entire United States, but basically everything from the mountains, Rocky Mountains, straight through up to New York, all of the states are being destroyed right now. So it makes me wonder. So yes, I'm going to say weather manipulation, and there's a lot more to the story than what they're telling us. But well, I mean, a tornado is called an act of God. I believe God controls the weather. What are we talking about? Okay, Kaz, I know you don't like hearing this, but um, there is a weather phenomenon produced by HARP, HARP, and what that is that is a weather manipulation station that is interesting, that every time there is a storm like this, there will be some sort of electromagnetic waves that will come from this station. You could also talk about different lands and stuff like that, but every time there's something cataclysmic, whether it's an earthquake, whether it's extreme weather, tornadoes, volcanoes, you'll start seeing a very weird energetic pulse that's coming out from certain areas. There's one station um, in Alaska. There's another station in Antarctica. I forget the name of the island, but there's an island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, which is like the nowhere island that sends it out. So that's what we're talking about. Yes, God controls the weather. However, man has learned how to manipulate the weather, and that's why we get crazy things like this. Why is God being in charge of the weather conspiracy theory? He's not. He's not being in charge. Men are trying to act like God. Land grab, exactly. 5 minute cities, all the things. Yes. If nobody knows what Sarah is talking about, ultimately the goal of the world, and here's where I'm going to get in trouble. I guarantee I'm going to get in trouble. Ultimately, what they want is they want the entire world to be under one rule, one monetary system, one religion, one of everything. And how do you accomplish by that? By not having people being able to travel. How you do that is you do it through 5 minute cities. And there are a whole mess of areas who are now creating 5 minute cities. One of them being Maui, another one being the Los Angeles area, where all these people, all these places that are getting destroyed by natural phenomenon are now turning into 5 minute cities. And the idea behind 5 minute cities is you don't need any cars, you don't need any transportation, you need absolutely nothing. Your people are going to be confined in an area where all it takes is 5 minutes by walking to get anything and everything that you need. Now, just imagine the implications of that if you are trapped in an area where all you need to do is walk 5 minutes to get anything and everything you need. Now, in some people's minds, that is the most wonderful thing. They are brainwashed to think, why should I travel anywhere when I could stay within my own home and never have to go anywhere? Just think of the implications of that and how bad it could be. All right, so he literally says that the storehouse where I keep the snow and lightning bolts. Natural, yes, okay, natural weather is produced by God. But what we're saying is man is trying to manipulate God's creation. So you're all on a tangent other than God sending hailstones? Yeah, we went on a tangent because we're saying that the storm that's happening right now is not from God. It really isn't. Same thing. 15 minutes. I know what you meant. Um, and you must show ID. Yes, you must show ID to get out of your radius. Oh, hold on 1 second, guys. Oh, that's bad. My mom is showing me pictures of. Yeah. Oh, I did something. What did I do? Okay, I don't know what I did. Yeah. What chapter? We're going back to the hailstorm. Sorry, we are on chapter 10, verse 12. We're going to start verse 12. I feel like that's giving man credit for something God is doing. But that's no. This is actually an interesting question, guys. The question is, do you believe that this destructive apocalyptic snow that's affecting everything is God doing this? Or would you possibly believe that man is trying to play God to manipulate the people and masses in order to control them, take control of them, and destroy so that they can pull their own agenda upon the people? So we're about to stop the sun. I'm just trying, bracing myself for this. We are about to stop the thing is about the sun. There is already conspiracy theories that we already did stop the sun, and that's why the sun is white now instead of yellow. Because me growing up, the sun was always yellow, and the sun is different now. The sun that we have, and oftentimes you will hear two suns, but the sun right now is white. The burning is different. The whole idea with sunflowers now actually turn away from the sun, where sunflowers always used to turn towards the sun. So that's a whole another conversation about how the sun has changed, because the idea is we really are in an inverted world. But there's a phenomenon happening right now where sunflowers no longer face the sun. And that's kind of scary if you look at it from a natural point of view. But if we are revolving around the sun, how can the sun be stopped in the sky and not vice versa? That's the question. If there's a, I'm not going to go into conspiracy theory because I know it's a bad thing. I'm going to go back to this because we could go on for hours and it's bad. So, and I don't want to upset. I really don't. I want to stick to the story. But let's go back to this hailstorms. So, in other words, God opened up the heavens to attack these people with giant hailstones that actually killed more of the people than the children of Israel were able to. And that's why, Sarah, I haven't touched that video you sent, but I'm sure he touches on this about the sun. He does a little. Oh, okay. That video, I do have to say, I know I shared that video, but the reason I shared that video in the chat simply was because that was the first video that I watched that literally put it in toned down tones and actually did it biblically. Most of the time, when people talk about the flat earth, they'll talk about the firmament and God's creation and stuff like that. I just think he did a really, really good job. And you know something? It's one of those things. You can watch it and say this is total garbage, or you can watch it and be like, maybe there's something to it. So I think it's an interesting video. That's the only reason why I shared it. So I'm not sharing it because I'm But yeah, I did share it. I'm sorry, guys. Whether you see it or not, or you could say that the rotation of Earth stopped and the sun stood still. Well, from what he was saying, biblically, they describe the Earth as not moving from a biblical standpoint. And I mean, okay, here's the biggest debate, and this is where there are a couple of references in the Bible where it talks about the Earth being stationary. And he goes through it in the video. He literally goes through all the Bible verses and stuff like that. She hasn't got this. Oh wait, there's a part in the Bible about stopping the sun. Is that what you're trying to say? See, I don't know that yet. I thought we were talking about the video I sent. Um, uh, I lost my train of thought. I was going to say something. I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, whatever. Oh, keep. Oh, okay, cool. No, that is cool. All right, I didn't know that. Okay, I was gonna say something, like whatever I was just gonna say just went poof. It's gone. It really is gone. And maybe that's a sign. That means we shouldn't be talking about this. Okay, so whatever I was gonna say just went poof, gone. All right, let me go back to this. Oh, we're right there. He's gonna stop the sun. Interesting. Oh, and you're fully trained. Okay, let's get to it. We had the hailstorms. So he already went to the hailstorms. I'm going to keep reading. We're going to keep reading. That's why I'm like, I didn't know what you were talking about. I thought you were talking about that video then. Okay. Then spoke Joshua to the Lord in the day when the Lord delivered the Amorites before the children of Israel. And he said in the sight of Israel, Sun, stand thou still upon Gibeon, and thou moon in the valley of the Adjunct. Oh, okay, literally was the next line. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? The sun is going to stop. It literally is the next line. All right. All right. So, what that's going to mean then, if the sun is stopping upon Gibeon and the moon is stopping on, that means Gibeon is going to burn to dust and Ajalon is going to be freezing. That's Science and theologians have both said that the Earth stopped on its axis, which changed the atomic clock, absolutely, of the stars. I'm going to say one thing, and I'm not meant. I'm not. I find this interesting, and Kaz, I'm not pointing at you. It's just an interesting thing, and I even presented this to Chris because what's interesting, Kaz, you remind me of Chris. Chris hates my conspiracy theories. When I start talking about conspiracy theories, he shuts me up completely. Now, Sarah says scientists are trying to cover up God all the time. So this is what I said to Chris because a lot of times when I give him a theory and back it up with the Bible, he looks at me like I'm crazy and says, "How can you ignore science?" So I say to him, I says, "Chris, I need an explanation." I says, "Do you believe in God?" "Of course I do." "Do you believe in the Bible?" "Yes." I says, "Do you believe everything that's in the Bible?" "Of course I do. It's the word of God." I says, "So explain this to me, please. How can you believe what science says if the Bible is a direct contradiction of what science is teaching you?" And he looks at me and he says, "Well, that's because when the Bible was written, they didn't understand science." I says, "Okay, so then you're telling me that the Bible is wrong." He's like, "No, the Bible's not wrong. It's from the Word of God." I says, "Okay, then once again, how can you tell me?" And I says, "How can you believe in God if you also believe exactly what science is telling you?" And then we get into the whole so and like I said, and this is the exact conversation I had with Chris. So that's why I was always confused because before I started deep diving, I always thought that conspiracy theorists were atheists. I always thought that conspiracy theorists were the scientists that were atheists that would turn to this thing and say, this is complete garbage. Science overrides the Bible. That's what I thought conspiracy theories was. Until I started delving into the conspiracy theories, and it's completely the other way around. They're like, no, you don't understand. The Bible is so accurate. Science is trying to cover what the Bible is. Science is trying to manipulate God's word. Science is trying to say that this is not true. Now, Sarah says, look into the scientist who started NASA. The interesting thing that is von Braun on his deathbed that they put on his tombstone, they actually put the reference in Genesis in regards to the firmament, which is interesting because NASA is dead set against the firmament. So why would you put about the firmament on somebody who's dead set against it? Which is interesting. And that was his request. He requested that to be on his thing. Eddie, excellent point. Science changes constantly. God's word does not change. So the whole manipulation is people are saying that science is trying to keep us from knowing the truth. Science is trying to deceive us. And that's what NASA means. If you look at NASA, the root word in Hebrew, NASA in Hebrew means to deceive. I feel like it's kind of sad to refer to people like Sally Ride, Neil Armstrong, and Buzz Aldrin. What do you mean, sad to refer to them? Buzz Aldrin is hilarious because Buzz Aldrin literally says, we didn't go to the moon. He tells people that. Now, people say that that's dementia or something like that. He says, we didn't go to the moon. All these people have gone to space and seen the Earth. Yeah, Buzz Aldrin, you need to look at some of his videos because he flat out tells how it's a lie that we never went to the moon. People who work on the space station. See, Kaz, and I'm not, please no, I'm not fighting with you or anything like that. That's what makes it interesting about the lie. Krista McAuliffe. I don't know who that is. Who is that one of the Challenger people? Because the Challenger people are still alive. Krista McAuliffe. Oh yeah, she's still alive. Right? She was the one on the Challenger. Artemis should be able to put an end to question if it's real. Yeah, if you're referring to do if you're referring to the Challenger, every single one of the Challenger people are still alive. Well, actually, do I think one of them died of natural causes? So yes, they got. Well, some of them didn't even get new names. Some of them are using their same original names, which is even funny. So, but yes, the problem is if you Google it, of course, Google is going to say no, they all died in this and that. You got to really, really dig that into that. So, but yes, the people are still alive. I know the whole story with the twins. What are the chances of them picking? What are the chances of them picking multiple sets of twins to go on the Challenger, and then during the funeral, the twin brother or sister doesn't show up? Like to me, that doesn't make sense. Like if you die, you know what I mean. It's like, wait a minute, why didn't the twins? It's weird. I don't know. I know Kaz doesn't want to hear this. I know you don't want to hear this. We're not going there. But like I said, it's very, very interesting. You were born the exact day the Challenger blew up? Oh. Well, I'm not saying oh, that's just I just remembered and I'm going to get in trouble for this. I know I'm going to get in trouble for this. I feel like every generation there is some visual tragedy. Okay. And what's getting worse is as we get older, you're getting more and more visual tragedies. So the visual tragedy, well, actually, let me go back further. My mom's visual, even though it wasn't a tragedy, my mom's major visual was the walking on the moon, which doesn't make sense when you actually watch the videos as to how they watched it and stuff like that. For us, it's the Challenger explosion. Then for the next generation, it was 9/11. For this generation, it's probably CK. That was, you know what I mean? It's JFK. Thank you. Yes. After the walking or 6360. Yeah, JFK is another one. That I should have realized that. So that was the tragedy, whereas the walking on the moon was the but okay, so if I die, my family members mourn me. I'll be damned if someone comes along and tells everyone it's fake. So you weren't alive when it happened. You didn't see the whole world watched it. But that's just it. We watched an explosion, but there's more to the story where they probably weren't even on it. Their families, crisis actors, yes. The world mourned, JFK. Yeah, that's the whole point. The whole point was it was a crisis, a fabricate. I see. I can't say. I'm going to get in trouble. Fabrication. I'll just say that word. Period. Fabrication. Good. Now that I said that word, use that word. That's why they were showing the whole world. Okay, never mind. I'm not calling some heroes. Okay. And you know something, Kaz? You don't have to believe it. That's fine. You don't have to believe it because, like I said, you're not on board. You don't have to be. All I say, this is all I say: watch a video, look at the evidence, come up to your own determination. Because remember, this is, and I'm gonna use, if you don't mind, I'm gonna use your own words. When you said that, how can you blame somebody for not knowing Christ if they were never exposed to it? So on the flip side, I could say, I cannot blame you for believing something if you've never seen the alternate evidence. So that's what it is. So the alternate evidence. And I don't blame you. If you never want to see it, that's fine. But then when you look at the flip side and look at the alternate evidence and be like, wait a minute, something doesn't make sense here. Something is wrong. And that's where it's up to you as an individual to determine where in your heart do you truly believe. And that's why I'm saying, from my perspective, I've already, and this is mind blowing. From my perspective, every single thing that we see on TV, that we are taught, that we are told, for me, complete lie. It is all a lie. I don't trust anything. And some people can't handle that. Some people will not be able to really be able to exist in a world if they knew that the whole world is lying to them. That could cause madness, that could cause paranoia, that could cause so many things. But if they never knew about what's on the other side, then they never will be any issues. They'll just be in their happy little, yes, I can't even say that word, but that, yeah, yeah. Everything that Sarah said is all part of acting. It really is. And just even saying that will get trouble there. No, I'm not saying you're deluded asleep or anything like that. You could say that because I know a couple of times you've said that. But all I'm saying is not that you are asleep. If you never heard an alternate theory before, would you even know that there was an alternate theory? And that's not positive or negative in any way. All I'm saying is, okay, there's possibly, oh yeah, absolutely. School is the. I will tell you this. I listened into a couple of classes that they're homeschooling these kids, and I even said to Chris, I'm like, "Why the hell is your daughter being homeschooled? Seriously, why is she be the garbage that these kids are learning right now?" I was horrified with, because I even stopped and said to, I said to Brianna, I'm like, Brianna, you're learning this shit. She's like, what? I'm like, they're seriously teaching you what I just heard that teacher said to you. And I'm like, I said, Chris, she needs to be taken out of school. This is ridiculous. I mean, if this is what they're teaching kids, this is ridiculous. So, okay, you said you're not going to tell me the horror these parents went through is a government thing. Yes, I am. But you don't have to believe it. That's fine. You don't have to believe it. When you say homeschool, yeah, she's virtually homeschooling with I don't know if it's a government school or not. I'm not like involved in what it is, but it's some sort of online homeschool. And I personally think it's ridiculous because she only goes on, like, she has four classes. Each class is supposed to be like an hour long every day. Most of the time it's about 20 minutes. If they fail a test, they could just retake the test. Everything is open book. From my perspective, she's learning absolutely nothing, but she's like, but I'm getting straight A's. Yeah, you're getting straight A's. Are you retaining it? Do you even know what's going on? So if my child was part of something like that and someone comes and tells me it was all mind control, wait, did I miss the first part? Yeah, yeah, she's in the virtual homeschool, which I think is ridiculous. I mean, I've listened in because usually I'm like washing the dishes or something like that, and she has it on the computer and I can hear it, and I'm like, I can't believe the stuff they're teaching. Okay, if someone comes and tells me it was all mind control, okay, I don't think you could equate virtual schooling to traditional. Oh no, I even said this. I'm like, I would be willing to homeschool this kid. Seriously, I would. I mean, I even said this to. I mean, this is my opinion when it comes to homeschooling. I have said to Brianna, that's Chris's daughter. She's 15 years old. I says, you know something? I would love to teach you a wealth of knowledge. I would love to teach you and bring a book. I says, Brianna, I've got book after book after book. Any subject you want to learn, I can easily pull out and we could sit down and we can learn. She doesn't want to do that. Why should I do that? I'm getting straight A's because you're not learning anything, really. I'm at the point she's not learning nothing. So, uh, I would, but traditional homeschooling where you actually teach them everything, that would be. I mean, for me, traditional homeschooling would be like, okay, you want to learn. The first thing we're going to learn is we're going to learn things around the house. You're going to learn how to iron. You're going to learn how to wash and clean clothes. You're going to learn how to cook. You're going to learn how to take care of things. So that would be like the home equipment. Then to go outside, you're going to learn about things around you. You're going to learn about the trees. You're going to learn about the stuff that you see, the skies. We're going to go bird watching and learn what type of birds there are. I mean, that to me is the education. We're going to go to the different rest stops and read the historical landmarks and stuff like that and try to understand why there's history behind it. Why is, I mean, for me, homeschooling is supposed to be a total immersion with life around you. That's what I believe real homeschooling is. Okay, so that's why you're against homeschooling. That makes, I'm against homeschooling because they're just pushing the kids along without. Oh, I would be a good homeschooler. Thank you. Maybe I'll just live in my lie because I'm going to take away from the what? Maybe I'll just live in my lie because I'm not gonna take grief away from people. From my point of view, why would you want grief on people to begin with? I mean, that's. I mean, why would you want to live in a world where you're grieving over something when it's a lie? I mean, I mean, unless maybe I'm reading that wrong. That's fine. I mean, I don't know. The homeschooling we do is more like you described. You want it to be like that. And that's what I want it to be. I want it to be a full immersion, but it's not. Now, as far as Kaz, like I said, Kaz, I have nothing wrong with you not believing these things. And I'm not going to hold it against you. It's fine. All I'm saying is if you've never been exposed to the opposite or heard something different, and you've only heard one point of view. And I almost want to say, and forgive me, this is going back to the Bible. That's where I have an issue is some of these people have never heard God. Some of these people don't know about the Testament. So why is God so adamant? I'm going to say Lord, not God. Why is the Lord so adamant about destroying the entire town, the entire city, down to nothing for people who don't know his ways, even the innocent people. I mean, that's what I'm. The virtual crap you're describing, I feel like came in. It absolutely did. Yeah, yeah. They're trying to push as many people as possible to get their degree, so it satisfies the numbers, and that's why we have a generation of people who can't read, who can't write, who can't count money or do simple things in their head because they were just pushed along the school. Yeah. I mean, please forgive me. I'm not trying to say his daughter's stupid. I'm not. And forgive me for saying this. But I find it shocking that at like 15 years old, if I told you there's like a half off sale at the store, that she cannot tell me how much that item is. And I understand math could be hard for some people. But I mean, you're just taking half off. You're taking 50% off of something. You can't tell me what half of that price tag is. If something is $10, you can't tell me what a 50% off sale is. And she looked at me like, and I have to, I mean, it shocks me. And that's the generation that we are supporting and growing up. Is that when and this happens to me all the time. I and you know, so maybe it's my fault. I used to be a banker. I worked in a bank. So for me, I know, and I worked as a cashier and stuff like that. So for me, money comes very easy. So stupid thing. If something comes out to, I don't know, let's say if something comes out to $7.01 and I hand them $10.01, and they'll look at me, it's like, why'd you give me the penny? And I looked at them like, seriously? Are they kidding me? I says, put it in your computer, because they'll be like, oh. And I get that all the time. That aggravates me so much because nowadays they literally make registers idiot proof that, oh yeah, I says, yeah, just put it in the computer, put it in your register. Like, put the number in $10.01 and see what happens. And they're like, oh, now I get it. Because I personally would rather have a dollar bill than 99 cents back. Maybe other people don't care. I don't like having change. But I mean, that's this. I'm sorry, I'm ranting so much. Yes, the register tells the change and they can't even get the change back to you. I know that. It's so true. They can't do that. So who's at fault? Is it the individual's fault? Is it society's fault? Is it the parents' fault? I mean, who do you blame? I mean, this is how I look. You can't blame an individual for not knowing something. And that's why I feel like biblically, I almost feel like you can't blame these people as an entire city for not understanding who the Lord is and who God is. But the Lord is already saying, now you guys are telling me, well, they do know about God because of Noah. I'm saying that maybe they don't know about it because even with Reba is saying she only heard about the Lord because of what the killing they were doing. From how it sounds, that whole interaction, she had no idea who the Lord was. You have to look at who created our education system. Oh yeah, let's not even go into that. The whole Carnegie and let's not even go into that. That alone with Rockefeller, Carnegie, the whole Rothschild. Yeah, yeah. They're not even going into that. We won't go into that. Okay. Anyway, let's go back to the Bible. I think it's important because we went on so many tangents. This is not even funny. This is not even funny. But I don't know. Like, homeschool back then used to be for kids who had mental challenges, who couldn't interact. And now I feel like homeschool is the new fad, and it's creating people who like children who don't know how to do basic things. Like, does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense. Well, and I mean, I'm not trying to insult anybody, but it's just we are in a society right now where kids are not being schooled. Okay, yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Homeschool has been like way back when. And if I'm not mistaken, I mean, or am I wrong? I don't know. You says you've been homeschooling long before. I almost want to say, what was the reason that you were homeschooled? Was it a, because it could have been a education issue. It could have been a distance issue. Like if you were out in the like farmland or something like that. Sometimes it's a religious reason for homeschooling, but I feel like nowadays homeschooling is just done just to quickly get a diploma and say that you're passed. That, and I could be wrong. I mean, maybe that's just a bad assumption because I realized the government schools wanted my kids to fit in their boxes. Yeah, I have to say one thing. This is the last thing I'm going to say because it is so hilarious. His son is off to college. And before he went to college, I said to him, I says, be careful. And he's like, be careful of what? I says, they're going to try to manipulate your thought thinking. They're going to try to put you into a specific mindset. And I warned him, I says, always keep your mind open and look at other possibilities. So, so he obviously came back from school. He already spent his first semester at school. And for the past month, well, he went back, but for the past month, he was back home for Christmas and everything during their break. So he's here with us every day. And there was one point we were sitting down for dinner and we were having a political discussion. And all of a sudden, he said something that would have been different point of view than what he would have had before he went to school. At that point, it was hilarious. I've never seen this. Chris literally dropped his fork as to what it was just said. And I looked at him and like, see, that's what college does to you. And I cracked up. I thought it was a funny thing. I cracked up laughing. I completely cracked up laughing. And Chris looks at me and he looks at me. I'm like, see, I warned you. I warned you. I'm sorry. Um, Okay, so because I realized government schools wanted, no, my okay, so your kids are working now. My kids are not getting off easy. They're learning and working and having hard to get their grades, but learning real life at the same time. I refuse to raise entitled kids. And you know something, Sarah, I have to give you credit for that. I mean, that's amazing. That's a good thing. I mean, like I said, I almost want to say I'm not in charge of her education. She actually lives with her mom and she comes back and forth, but her existence is with her mom. If it was the other way around, if her existence was here, she would be, I mean, she would be reading my textbooks. She would be reading science. She would be reading, I mean, she would be reading everything. But that's me. Instead, she goes to school 20 minutes a day and follows whatever it is that they want. So I don't win in that battle. So I just accept it. However, every now and then, in talking to her, and same thing in talking with this, which I don't know if they appreciate or don't appreciate, but a lot of times when I talk to them, I will have a conversation and a little lesson to throw in with it. So when I start explaining something, I'll explain the history behind it or why I'm saying what I'm saying, and they're highly interested because even they said they're like you're a walking Jeopardy. I just try to do that just so I get something into their heads. So all right. But Kaz, I don't know if Kaz is still here. Kaz, we're not attacking you. Please don't think we're attacking you. All I'm saying is it's the same perspective as I'm reading this. I mean, I could easily sit here, read this word for word, and not say anything, and we could just read this. But what do we do here? I'm like, okay, let's analyze this. This particular line could mean this. This could mean this. This could potentially mean this. And we come up to a solution. I mean, how many times I mean, even this morning, I read a line and I'm like, okay, so what does this mean? Are they giving them like, okay, let me just go back for a second because I just want to repeat it because this is a perfect example. When they were giving them the old wine, when they were giving them this, I says, okay, wait a minute. Does that mean that they're bringing to them a high vintage, something valuable, or by bringing old wine, are they bringing old and stale wine? Like I was analyzing, okay, what does that mean? Because they could be bringing something of good quality to try to make a treaty with them. But no, as we read further, I'm like, okay, wait a minute. That explains it. They're bringing them old wine, old shoes, they're wearing old clothes in order to manipulate the situation to pretend and deceive that they're coming from a faraway land when in reality, they're coming from a land that they're just about to attack and destroy. So, oh, okay, thank you. I appreciate that, Kaz. So, all I'm saying in this is I always give different perspectives. And even the different perspectives I have, there's probably so many other different points of view that even I myself can't see. So, in cases like what we're talking about with conspiracy theories, it's simply a different perspective. You don't need to agree with it. You don't need to believe it. You don't even have to know about it. The only thing we say is if you never knew that there was an alternate view, then would it really matter? It just so happens we heard a different side. Some of us agree with that different side. Others of us say, no, that's complete garbage. But just knowing possibly a different side, is that enough to possibly change your thinking? Or by knowing the different side, you realize it? Because I think we had this discussion yesterday where we were talking with, I forgot her name. Sarah, yeah, Susan. We were talking with Susan where Susan said, should I read the Quran? The answer could be no. Don't read the Quran at all. The other answer is yes, read the Quran because it will solidify your faith in this. And that's the same thing what we're saying. I've come to the conclusion, Sarah come to the conclusion that the challenger is fake. I'm going to say that. When you are presented with that evidence as to why we think it's, you have a decision for yourself to make that be like, you girls are both crazy. Yes, I saw the evidence that you think why it's fake. That is ridiculous. It's you're both crazy. However, both of us, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong. What I'm saying is both of us have examined the evidence and say, you know something? We are totally being lied to, and that evidence is more than enough evidence that says yes, it's changing our way of thinking. It really is. And to me, calling death of people fake is disrespectful on some level. I'll give you the MO. Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying because in our point of view, it we don't believe they even died. So you're saying it's disrespectful. I can flip over and say it's more disrespectful that the government is lying to us and lying to people. So that, and I mean, that's where the different points of view. I know you have probably never heard the evidence as to why we're thinking. So, and I understand. And you know something? If you never want to see the evidence, that is fine. But from our perspective, it's the other way around that the government is being disrespectful to people and being disrespectful to God because literally the government is trying to destroy everything that God laid out for us. Okay, but if they died, if they did, calling it fake, it would be. It absolutely would be. And I agree with that. If me saying that that is fake when it actually happened, then yes, it would be disrespectful. But what we're saying is there is evidence beyond what we were seeing that shows that that actually was a complete lie. It was a complete setup. It never happened. So that's why you as an individual, and it's neither right nor wrong, you as an individual now need to make the determination. What is more feasible? What you're being told or evidence being presented that possibly refutes it? It literally is a balance scale. Saying that, don't you think we have seen tons of evidence to say it was fake? But that evidence has been disputed. No, it hasn't. I mean, I have more than enough evidence to say how it is a lie. You're going to find evidence to Kaz, you did hit it on the nail. You're going to find evidence to support whatever you believe in to begin with, true or false. That's what I've been saying in regards to the Bible as well. And I'm not trying to be a bad way. What I'm saying is no matter what somebody's agenda is, even an agenda of hate and even an agenda of atheism, they're going to find it in the Bible, because the Bible is such a living thing that it can apply to anything and everything, no matter what you believe in. Funny how control laws always take place immediately after. Oh, just look at the Patriot. That's all I have to say. Patriot. I choose to believe on the side of respecting these families. Okay, all right, that's fine. I mean, I'm not trying to. All I'm saying is, if you never hear the flip side of it, then yes, it's absolutely okay. I mean, it's absolutely in your right, in your heart, to choose that side. That's all I'm saying. So I want to say that my philosophy is, and that's another reason why this is so important to me, because I have seen different sides. And even in the different sides, it's now reinforcing why this side is so much more important for me to still read this. Because at one point I walked away and I went to different perspectives. I went to the bad side. And I'm realizing, something, it's not sitting right with me. It's not answering my questions. It's not holding my faith. But yet, the more I read this, the more I'm understanding. I'm thinking, this is the answer. This has been the answer all along. And I walked away from the answers. And that's why I feel sorrowful. That's why I feel energetic when I read this. Because all this time, the answer has been in front of me, but I walked away for it because I chose a different perspective. Okay, now that I heard and still don't believe it, so what does that say? It doesn't say anything. It says that you don't believe it. That's fine. That is, hold on. That is the very thing that I was talking about yesterday. What happens now? This. There's still a bond. There's still a togetherness. There's still an equality. You have your belief. I have my belief. Other people have their belief, but we're still in it together. It's not this. It's not one is better than the other or one is higher or below. What you're saying is, just because you don't believe, we're still in it together. You're excusing it because I've never heard the other side. Um, I don't know what that means. I'm excusing it. No, what I'm saying, okay, that's what I'm saying. If you never heard the other side, then you've never will see an alternate perspective. Okay, wait. Let me try to think of it. Okay, perfect. I have an example. This is a great example. There is, and I could look it up. Hold on. Let me get the name. This way you guys can see it. Hold on. Um, I just want to say something. Okay. Okay. Perfect example. There is a tribe called the Sentinelese. Okay. Sentinelese tribe. This is an actual tribe that is on an island. They are on their island. They are isolated. They are actually protected by the government. It's on the Bay of Bengal. They have completely rejected the outside world. They don't know that the outside world exists. They don't know anything about computers, about technology, about anything. They only know whatever is on their island. And what happens is, because it's such an isolated island, government has created laws that you are not allowed to go anywhere near this island because the island is completely protected. And the only thing that confuses these people is when a plane comes in and they see these people, because they don't understand the concept of plane. In fact, there's a movie about this. The movie's called The Gods Must Be Crazy, and it's based on this. Basically, in the movie The Gods Must Be Crazy, somebody throws a Coke bottle out of an airplane onto a tribe that has never seen what a Coke bottle was. So they take it upon themselves to pick up this Coke bottle because it is a gift from God and they want to return it back to God. Very interesting movie. I mean, that's meant to be the joke. But what I mean is the actual tribe of the Sentinelese. So what I'm saying is, if the Sentinelese have never been exposed to the outside world, then how, and they never want to be exposed to the outside world, then how can you hold against them what the things they don't know? They don't know about computers. They don't know about cars. They've never read a book before. They don't know about modern day technology. They literally are primitives on an island that has never been exposed to the outside world. So we don't have to agree on everything. You just said that it's okay, I don't believe, because I've never heard of it. Exactly. But now I have, and I still don't believe. Okay, you have heard of it, but did you see all the evidence? Because immediately I said, watch the evidence. And you're saying, but I don't believe it. I think it's disrespectful and hurtful. We haven't presented the evidence to you as to why. And I'm not trying to convert you. All I'm saying is, okay, you don't believe it? Not a problem. Look at the evidence, read for yourself, see what's out there. And if you can make the determination after you've seen the evidence that's been laid out and you say, you girls are crazy, there's no reason to believe in this, I'm still going to remain in my beliefs, then I'm going to say, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You have the right to believe that, just as we have a right to believe. All I'm saying is look at some of the alternating views. I'm not trying. Okay, so hold on. Oops. All right. So Susan says read for yourself, which that's what we're saying. Read the information for yourself. Read the alternating views. Look at the alternating perspectives. That's what we're saying. So before you make a determination, or your determination could be like, no, I'm not going to read any of that because I already know in my heart that it's true. The evidence is pretty damning. I read some of it and it's shaky. It's pretty easy to poke holes in what I saw. Okay, and I would only ask this is, have you read all the evidence? Now, to put it on religious perspectives, and please forgive me, I'm going to put it on because I think this is a perfect example. Okay, there are people who have never read the Bible. They know that the Bible exists. They know that there's Christianity, but why should I read the Bible when I believe in the Quran and Allah is the one true God? What? Why should I read any of this? Allah is the one true God. Everybody else is infidels. You're all infidels. That's what it is. You've okay, Susan. You've never read the Holy Bible, but you chose to believe, or are you looking at it from a different perspective? Because that's an interesting thing where faith, belief, and so on the flip side, this can be the exact same we had this conversation yesterday with RJ. RJ is Muslim. We're not going to convert him to the Bible. Neither are we going to get converted to the Quran. But RJ presented an interesting thing. You should read the Quran. RJ already said he read the Bible. And you know what RJ concluded after reading the Bible? He concluded that I don't believe in any of this. I still believe in my point of view. My point of view is Allah is still the one and only God. So this example is a perfect. All we're saying is, okay, if you've read the information and you're saying it's pretty easy to poke holes, then absolutely, that's fine, Kaz. I think that's wonderful. I just had the understanding that you didn't know about the alternate information. If you've already known about the alternate information and saw the fact of how they're alive, how they're living today, the interviews that were done by Buzz Aldrin himself that says we never went to the moon, if you look at the evidence of all the opposing theories and you come together and say, no, it's completely wrong, that I don't believe that, then you know something? That is perfectly okay. And that's exactly what we want to do. But there are people who will never do that. There are people who will never look at the opposite information and come up to their own terms. They're only going to stay in their little bubble and never explore outside that bubble. He most likely went into the Bible knowing he would be able to poke holes in it. Yeah. And I think this is interesting because for me, I specifically came into this, and that's why I wanted to preface it when I started this. I mean, I'm on day 77. I came to it, I'm like, guys, I'm coming to this with the fact that I'm going to believe that everything is true. But yet, in my mind, I've already at one point in my life said that this is not true. So now, once again, I'm saying, okay, I'm going to try to toss away that thinking. So yes, now I'm looking at it. I'm saying, okay, I'm looking at this. It's true on this way. But then, wait a minute, somebody will say that maybe this is it. Maybe this is it. So that's why I'm now looking at it from multiple perspectives. One could say that that is confusion. Others could say that that is a sense of trying to find what the truth means to you. But like I said, if you're given a different perspective, it allows a path where you could truly solidify your faith. And that's what I think I'm doing. I'm solidifying my faith by saying, okay, let me break this down. What does this actually mean? So that I could say to myself, yeah, this is why I absolutely believe that this is true. This is why it makes sense. So that's how I'm looking at it. And I know we're on a tangent. I still want to get back to Joshua. Are we ready to get back to Joshua or not? Sorry. Um, and interesting enough, and Sarah, this is just a question. You ask, are you a believer or not? I often wonder because I a lot of times are asked, am I a Christian? And I will tell you this. I almost sometimes get annoyed by that question. And it has nothing to do with prideful about being Christian or not, because as of right now, I don't believe I'm a Christian. And then you'll probably say, well, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. As of right now, the reason that I don't say that I'm a Christian is because from what I know that label creates at this time, I don't want to be boxed into that label. Am I a believer? Yes, I believe in God. I believe in Jesus. That could be a label itself. But I often ask, what difference would it make knowing whether someone believes or doesn't believe? Because isn't that already going to put you in a, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but it makes me wonder, would it matter that question? So, I mean, like I said, just to point out, my belief is I believe that the moon landing never happened. Challenger never did. That's my belief. Kaz believes the complete opposite. But you know something, from my perspective, it doesn't make a difference either way. From Kaz's perspective, it may or may not make a difference. And I want to say that that goes back to this belief. Because from my perspective, I'm going to say it doesn't matter what you believe in, I'm still, we're on the same page. For other people, it might be this, that it absolutely depends on what you believe. Because if you believe that it didn't happen, then I'm not going to associate with you at all. And I mean, this is actually almost the current, this is your cancel culture right here. Because how many people who are even my friends has says, hey, wait a minute, just because you TDS, just because you support the man in charge, I'm no longer going to be even associated with you because you have no right to even believe in the man in charge right now, meaning number 40, you know what I mean? The president. Or some people could have the attitude, well, I believe in this. And because I believe in this, I'm not even, you're not even worth my time. I mean, yeah, you're lower than me because I believe in this. So I feel like this comes into play once again. Where I am, and I hope you believe me, is that I don't care. Not that I don't care, but it doesn't matter what your beliefs are to me, as long as we could still remain friends together, a bond. That's how I look at it. I'm a Christian. I believe I'm a sinner in need of Savior. I believe Jesus is the Son of God. And okay, so it's going to lead into something else. Oh, wait a second. Um, Repeat that. What difference does what make again? What did I say? Did I repeat it or I didn't? Um, for me, what difference does it make whether you believe or don't believe? That's what I'm trying to say. Like, because when you put a label on something, you're gonna put your own bias as to what that label means. So for me, when somebody says to me, I'm a Christian, okay, it's going to have certain connotations. Oh, it must have been censored. It might have been censored. So for me, when somebody puts a label on themselves, it's going to put some sort of biases as to what it is. And a lot of times, I don't necessarily want to treat somebody through the biases that they. I mean, okay, perfect. This is a perfect example because it annoys the hell out of me when somebody comes in and says, "What are your pronouns?" Okay, instantly when somebody says that to me, okay, I'm putting you in a very specific ideology because if you're coming to me not even saying hello, how are you? Oh, this is a great live, let's talk or something like that. Um to me that's a bias that says I'm putting you in a very specific things simply because you want to know my pronouns. Fine. My pronouns are I, me, my, and mine. No, it did not come through. So whatever you're saying is not coming through. Whatever word you're using, I have no idea. It's trying to say, nope, it's not coming through. We don't like what you're saying. Yes. Oh, okay. I'm gonna accept. Come on up. Just yeah, just tell us what it is you're saying, because
So this is crazy. I have typed this like 3 times and it censored me. I'm just saying that I believe Jesus is the only way to salvation. That's literally all I'm saying, and it's
and
filtering me.
it completely filtered you. It did. It wouldn't
Yes.
say that. You know what it is? It's probably going to report you for misinformation. So if you say Jesus is the only way for salvation, you're going to get put into. All right.
Yes.
But then you turn around and put those people into your own bias because they asked. That's what I'm saying. Yes. You're right, Kaz. I do. When people come in and just say to me, "What are your pronouns?" I will get aggravated at them because that's telling me now, from their perspective, they're being respectful. From my perspective, they're being highly disrespectful. And that's two very opposite things. So I'm saying that they're being disrespectful for me. They're saying that's doing it out of respect. So, yes, I am putting my own bias because what they did is they just labeled themselves into a group that for me that question is disrespectful. So that's why for me, I would rather them not even do that because for me, it's being disrespectful. I mean, okay, I will say this: I am actually offended when people call me a cis woman. I'm offended by that, and I mean, from their point of view, but you are a cis woman. No, I'm a woman. I'm not a cis woman. There's nothing abnormal about me being female, about me being a woman. So when you say to me, I am a cis woman, you are now referring to me that, yeah, I'm a female, but there's an abnormality to being born that way. So you're saying you don't want to be labeled, but you want to label them. No, I'm not labeling them at all. I'm putting them in a category because they are more important with labels. Oh, you don't know how to take yourself down. I'm sorry. But thank you. Yes, you were exactly right. The point is we're always going to label people, we're always going to judge people, we're always going to have our personal bias. I just find it, like I said, I find it disrespectful when, of all the things we're talking about, that would be the first thing. It's also in line with, okay, how many times have we had people come in and say some of the stupidest things? I mean, we've had people come in talking about what they're going to do with their fingers, people coming in talking about my appearance. We've had people come in trying to get me to say something stupid with the words that they use just so I mouth it off. I mean, that's what I mean. You don't want to call yourself a Christian because, exactly, that's right. Because I don't want to be bottled up at this time. Doesn't mean that I may not choose to do it later. I may change my mind and realize, you know, some that's exactly it. But from my point of view, people who label themselves Christians, not all of them, there's a certain bias that I have when they put them up, which at this time I am not comfortable putting that bias upon myself. And I know that doesn't make sense, but even within Christian, there are different types of Christians. So, no, I said I'm not. No, I'm not ashamed. Because then, if I say I'm Christian, okay, what kind of Christian am I? Am I a Baptist? Am I a Protestant? Am I Lutheran? Am I, you know what I mean? Like that alone. So now I have to put another label on top of that. Am I born again? So at this time, I don't identify exactly with a label within a label within a label. So I can simply say I'm a believer. Now they may want to know, okay, a believer in what? Okay, I believe in the Bible. I believe in God. I believe in a higher power. I believe in Jesus. And they'll be like, so you're a Christian? Not necessarily. Maybe there's more to Christianity than is. I'm going to read the Bible, but I'm also not going to do research on the Bible to learn it. I almost want to say why. Susan, I'm going to read the Bible, but I'm also not to do research on the Bible to learn it. Okay, I see me. I would be like, okay, if you're reading the Bible, I me and that's fine. You don't have to do research on it. But I would almost say, okay, if you're going to read something, why wouldn't you want to research it? So born again is the correct term. Okay, so I would be born. Okay, so then here's a question, and this is a valid question. So then do in order to appease labeling, so then that would make me a Catholic, born again, pagan, atheist, agnostic, born again Christian. So is that the label I need to put myself as? So if I were to introduce myself as what do I believe in, that's what I would believe in. So I have 6 labels in order to get to where I am. So um I am not trying to offend you by saying this. I say that out of love. Whatever you're trying to say, Sarah, is definitely getting muted out. So I don't know what you're saying. My Jesus comment. Yeah, I think you're okay. Without using the word Jesus, say what you have to say, and I'll know that it's in reference to Jesus. Let's try it that way. Because, yeah, whatever you're saying is being muted out. So for some reason the algorithm is not liking using the word Jesus, which makes absolutely no sense to me. So if you can repeat it, just okay, can you say no? You just say I follow Jesus, I'm born again. Okay, I'm just going to ask one more question and then like cuz I don't want to make this like a circle, but I'm going to make does it really make a difference with who I'm talking to whether I put a label on myself or not? And that is a valid question. It almost sounds like you okay, yeah, you said that. It almost sounds like you're ashamed of falling. I'm not ashamed. I will gladly say that, but I'm just saying, do I need to put a label that has a connotation to some people negatively if I'm simply a believer? Yeah, I just saw that. Thank you. Worried about what people think. Um, I don't know because of the label. Maybe okay, maybe you're right. Maybe that's what my issue is. I really don't know. That could be what she's saying is why do you care about the connotation? I care about the connotation because how I interact with people and how they interact me can have a effect. Okay, here's an example and please forgive me. If I were to walk into wait, I'm trying to think of a good example. If I were to walk into a mosque, and I think this is a great example. If I were to walk in a mosque, and I'm there because I want to observe, I want to learn, I want to see what's going on. Why would I go into a mosque and say I am a born again Christian? Why wouldn't it just be that when they say why are you here? I'm here to learn. I'm here to observe. Because what's going to happen is if I go into a mosque and say I'm a born again Christian, that's going to bring a whole connotation and bias against me. Another example. Why would you go to a mosque to be? To learn, to observe, to. I mean, okay, that's a bad example. All right, let me give another example. I'm just trying to think. Um, okay, this one's probably going to get me in trouble. No, I shouldn't use that example. That's going to get me in trouble. Um, I'm trying to think of like a real life example of. Uh, if an atheist comes into church and says, "I want to watch," we say, "Cool, have a seat." Okay, here's the catch. Did the atheist come into church spouting out, "I am an atheist. I'm here to watch"? That's a great thing. That's the point I'm trying to make. If somebody just came in and says, "I want to watch and observe," you would welcome them and say, "Now, if an atheist comes in, then they would all crowd around them and be like, I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to church. We want to teach you about God." You see how it would change. So if I just walk in and basically say, "Hi, I'm new here. I want to observe your church." Everybody would be like, "Welcome, have a seat." If I came in, "Hi, I'm an atheist. I want to come to this church," they will be crowding around that person, trying to pray for them, trying to convert them, trying to. So, I mean, that's a perfect example, Kaz. I couldn't think of an example, but that is a great example because that person put a label upon themselves. They are going to be treated differently than if they were just going to walk into the church and observe. In fact, most of the time, if somebody walks into a church, only a few people will actually acknowledge them if they go into church in silence. I'm not saying announce yourself as Christian, but if someone, okay, yeah, if someone asks, that's fine. But a lot of times, people come into this live and will flat out ask me, "Are you Christian?" And why would it matter whether I'm Christian or not? It's like going to a library or classroom to learn. The goal is knowledge. Exactly. RJ, welcome to the show. Exactly. So that's only half true because churches usually notice the um I'm going to disagree, Kaz, and you know something, we could perfectly disagree. I have gone to many, many, many churches and I have been ignored numerous times. In fact, I think the irony is it is usually when I go to church, it is usually the elderly who are alone with no family around them. Those are the ones that will actually come to me. And that I find amazing. But most of the time, oh yeah, hey, I could tell you, I have experience with lots of no good churches. And I mean, do I hold it against them? No. Is it something that I've done? No. But like I said, from my experiences, churches generally nowadays are not welcoming at all to people who have never been there. They really are not. And it's funny because I want to say as a whole, I don't think people realize this. Like as churchgoers, they don't realize what they're actually doing to the people who aren't within their thing. And I think that's kind of sad. I would love for them to change their perspectives. Last time I went to a new church, it was like walking into a boutique store. Unfortunately, there are more bad churches than healthy ones. Absolutely. Um, just clarify, what do you mean by walking into a boutique store? Are you saying it was a good experience or was it a bad experience? I don't know what the analogy of walking into a boutique store is. Was it that you felt like you couldn't touch anything? Were you welcomed? Were you treated like you're going to steal something? Okay, 50 people came out of nowhere talking about how are you? Can I help you find anything? Okay, see that? All right, to me, Kaz, I think that's beautiful. I almost want to say if a church would really do that, that would be beautiful. Like a church, Jesus would have flipped tables in. But for me, When I go to new churches, I cannot tell you how isolated, because nobody says hello, nobody acknowledges me. In fact, I find this interesting because I did a test in a couple of churches. I don't know if your churches do this, but one of the things the churches around here do is they will do the praise and worship. And after they do the singing and stuff like that, after they do that, the priest will say, "Go welcome your congregation," priest, pastor, whatever. And what they do is they start walking around everything, and they'll hug, they'll shake hands, they'll say hello. And it's funny because I will be there and I'll be smiling and I'll be looking around, and absolutely nobody comes to me. They do not come to me. And it makes me wonder, okay, am I projecting negativity? Am I. And sometimes I'll go up to somebody and say hello, and I literally get like the side eye that they walk. They'll just be like, "Hi," and they walk away. So I'm like, all right, so nobody wants to say hello to me? Like, is that what the issue is? And it just makes me wonder, if I'm having that experience, how many other people are having that experience too? How many other people get ignored? I left with a phone number, and this lady introduced me to everyone that walked by, which was a little uncomfortable, honestly, because I'm introverted. And that's just it. I'm not an introverted person, or maybe I am. I think of myself as an extrovert, but I just find it funny that going to a church and I'll observe and look around, and it's like they treat me like I'm not even there, like I don't even exist. Kaz, seeking truth. Oh, I'm sorry. Seeking truth means being willing to listen to it, not rejecting it before hearing it. The church I'm in the process of leaving is that same way, and it's one reason I'm leaving. And Sarah, I hate to say this, from a whole, people are losing their congregation, and they're losing their congregation because I think what ends up happening is they are forgetting the opposite side. They are getting themselves into one little box and only seeing things through their point of view, that they don't see what happens when a new person comes in, when there is somebody who may need a prayer or saving or something like that. Yeah, I'm not too sure what. Wait. Cancel. Hold on. Uh, Sarah, just say something real quick because I want to know, did I block you or not? I hope I didn't block her. Something came up. I think I canceled it. So, Sarah, just say something if you can. If Sarah can't say something, then I'm gonna. The church is currently visiting. Did I block Sarah? Sarah, are you there? Oh my god, I think I blocked her. Hold on, please tell me I didn't block her. No, she says she's not blocked. Did I block everybody? I don't know. I hope Sarah can say something because I think by accident I might have blocked her. It doesn't say she. No, it still says she's a moderator. She's not blocked. She's not muted. All right. Maybe she's not there right now. Testing. Okay, you're still there. Thank you. Just want to make sure because the block came up that says, do you confirm blocking? I'm like, no. Asking why would I go to a mosque to begin with implies rejecting knowledge before even hearing it. Okay, so you're asking something all the way up there. In fact, I don't know, and I think that's a ridiculous question. Are women even allowed in mosque? That might have been a ridiculous question. Okay, yes, women. Okay, I was just wondering if that was like a ridiculous question. So yes, women are allowed in mosque. They just have to be covered, so that makes sense. Okay. I was trying to think of an example and I couldn't think of one. Oh, fun facts. Thank you. Mods cannot be. Okay, thank you. I didn't know that, but all of a sudden I was scrolling up and it says confirm. Do you want our blog? I'm like, no. All right. So yes, women are allowed in mosque. No, you know what happens? I scroll up and for whatever happened, I must have pressed the wrong button or something. I'm sorry. Um, the church I'm currently visiting, I've gotten so many hugs from strangers during that time. And see, to me, that's wonderful. And here's the flip side to that. There's always a different side. And that's why I look at different point of views. From a person who might be either neurodivergent or somebody who might be an introvert, getting a hug from other people could be an anxiety panic attack. Like, don't touch me, don't come near me. And that could be an attitude that a lot of people have. So it's very, very hard to take so many different perspectives. All I'm saying from a church point of view is, are they really being welcoming and outreaching to people who are new to their church? Or are they still stuck in their bubble and don't acknowledge that there might be people who might want to get in with them? Um, okay, so yeah, so Sarah's still here. She's still here. I don't know. And like I said, I was even surprised. Like for example, today it's Sunday, which is church day, and it's actually funny because I'm going on a tangent. Chris's mom, we had this discussion because I was telling her about my Bible study, which she's actually surprised. She's like, "You do a Bible study?" I says, "Yes, I've been doing a Bible study. I'm on like well, at the time it was 74. I'm like, I've been doing this for 74 days now. I mean, it's a beautiful thing." She's like, "Well, you do realize you still need to go to church." I says, "Well, that's up to Chris." I says, "I'm going to follow where he wants to follow. I'm not going to initially make that because for me, as his, I want to say wife, but I'm not his wife, but as his partner, for me, it would be an insult to leave him home and go to church on my own. So I'm going to follow. If he wants to make the step to go to church, then I will go with him and follow with him as a union. On the other perspective, it doesn't matter that he doesn't follow me with these things. I tried to get him involved with my shows. He has extreme anxiety. He camera freezes. He goes, I mean, Chris is so talkative when he knows I'm not filming him. Like when he knows that he's not being filmed. The moment he gets filmed, he freezes. So I understand that. He used to. And that's part of the reason why his mom is upset. And I even said to him, "Am I the reason you stopped going to church?" And he says, "No." He says, "You actually opened my eyes as to how corrupt it is," because he has been on the church at the same church for over 20 years. So he's been going to this church for 20 years. And the church actually did quite a number of bad things over the past couple of years. And it was in the back of his mind that he's like, he wants to find another church. And then what ended up happening when I started going with him, because the two of us was going together, and a whole mess of things opened up. So because of that, he chose to walk away from the church. And I said to him, I says, "Why don't we find a church that you're more comfortable with?" So we actually tried a couple of churches, but for him, part of the difficulty had to do with his job, because his job required him that he has to be on call. And he said, like, that would, because he even said, he says, "Who cares if you're on call? Let's go to church." He's like, "No, you don't understand. If I'm on call, I have to immediately go to work. I can't stop, walk out." And I says, "But that's the point. God would not matter if you walk out of church for your job. At least you took the effort to be there." I says, "Plus, maybe you won't get a call because you're there." So it got to the point where he's like, "I just don't feel comfortable with the churches around here." And each of the churches that we had gone to, there was something that didn't necessarily go the way it should have gone. So I'm leaving that up to him, and I'm still on that because I said to him, I says, "The moment you want to go back to church, I will go to any church. I'm there right with you." I've chosen that honestly, and I mean, his mom's against this. For me, this is my church. It really, not, and I'm not trying to be self-centered, but what I'm saying is, this is my version of me praising the Lord, reading His Word, being in a congregation of people. So maybe that's not necessarily how churchgoers would view it. But for me, being in this atmosphere, no matter what we talk about, is still spiritually enriching. And I really do hope that that is viewed by others as well. So, church is where you're taught, not where you teach yourself. You just said it. You're praising the Lord. Thank you. Okay, that's interesting. Church is where you're taught, not where you teach yourself. Um, okay, but here's a question. Wouldn't teaching myself through others as well be a form of learning? Because I I don't know how all of you feel, but you are all teaching me so much. It's not me teaching you. Okay, so wait. There's fellowship, but there's also learning. This is more Bible study. Okay, church is the body of Christ gathering together. This can be church. Okay, so interesting question, and I'm just going to throw this out. So, Kaz, you're saying that what we're doing is not considered a church. This is more of a Bible study. This is more of a learning atmosphere. Is that correct? Or, but I also believe that church is not a building. Um, it was very hard for me to step into a church. At one point, and people could say, at one point, I even needed hypnosis in order to step into a church. And people, you guys are probably going to be like, "What?" If you knew the story behind it as to why I needed it, I actually needed to go for hypnosis in order to just to even step into a church. And the fact that even going to church with Chris at first was extremely difficult. But then now I can go to church. I still get a little anxiety. It's not as bad as it was, but I needed help to get into a church. And now I'm at the attitude that I said to Chris, whenever you want to go to church, let's go. I believe there needs to be a spiritual leader to learn from. Girl, you don't need hypnosis. You need to learn. Well, at the time, I needed hypnosis. Let's just say that. I don't go to a brick church, but I do have a pastor I trust and learn from. I will be honest, as of right now, there is no spiritual, and I'm not talking about God or Jesus, there is no spiritual pastor, preacher, priest, guidance. I don't have that in my life right now. There's nobody that I consider that pastor in my life. Um, how do I get one? I'm not too sure. I mean, I would assume getting one means going to church. I did go to church. I tried to make connections, um, but it's not really happening. So yeah, I could talk about I needed hypnosis at the time. I don't need that now, but at the time I did. So I mean, every now and then one could say, and I mean, I do like watching certain preachers. So there's certain, but I don't watch them regularly. So there are certain people I do like to watch their videos. I like to see how they teach certain philosophies, how they teach certain things. And when people say, "Oh, you got to check out this person," got to check, I end up adding them and check them out because sometimes they are phenomenal. Um, I didn't for a very long time, but when I found one, I learned more from him in the last 6 years than I did 40 years of my own. What about fellowship? That's important. And you know something, Sarah? I will just say this. There are, and I'm not saying this about Kaz, I'm just saying this in general because I've seen this myself. There are people that genuinely cannot go into that church atmosphere. They can't take it. It's too overwhelming. So there was a time that me just going into a church brought on so much anxiety that I literally had to run out of the building. I couldn't be there. And some could say, well, that's demonic forces, that's evil in you, and stuff like that. Possibly. I tried to overcome that through hypnosis. I really did. I went to, I will just say that changed my life. I went to a 3 day hypnosis convention in which it was 3 days of nonstop hypnosis. And I will say that was such a mind that was such an awakening and such a mind altering event. The stuff that I witnessed, and I went with a group of friends. There was actually 9 of us. There was 9 of us as friends, went to this 3-day convention, and we ended up getting a penthouse suite, which was amazing. So we got this penthouse suite. We all chipped in, 9 of us hanging out and there was like different rooms and stuff. So we all had our own bed and stuff like that. But we had this penthouse suite. We went to this convention, and the stories I could tell about that. And for people who don't believe, I mean, before there, I was a skeptic. I'm like, hypnosis is garbage. It doesn't happen. But the fact that not only I was hypnotized, but my friends were, and to witness it, and then for all of us who were all skeptics to say, what happened to us? What seriously got, okay, just someone who knows more than you, that is a position to teach and lead. I don't know. Never mind. I feel like I got, oh, I'm sorry. I'm talking about so many different things. I think Kaz, you do make a good point. You're trying to say that I should have somebody in a spiritual role that should teach me and impart their knowledge onto me. That I can't only do it on myself, which is true. And I think this comes into a very important thing, perspective. Because by me turning to a pastor, preacher, elder, whatever you want to call them, I'm gaining knowledge of things. And in fact, oh, okay, this is a full circle. I just hit it on the nail. They are giving me a point of view that I've never seen before. So they are opening myself out of my box, showing me an alternate side. Doesn't this sound familiar? Which then by showing me the alternate side, I now have the determination onto whether am I going to agree with what they say, or am I going to continue to believe what I believe? This is coming full circle. Very interesting. So yes, I do agree with you. There should be someone that I look to as more knowledgeable. Now, the irony is, which you guys may not believe it or agree with it, but the irony of that is that's how I see the two of you. You, you, Kez, Sarah, and other people, from my perspective, are so much more knowledgeable, gifted, connected with a relationship to God, that by me sitting here and reading the Bible and literally telling you what I think, and then you guys give me your perspective from my point of view, you are actually the pastor and preacher, even if you don't see yourselves that way. That's exactly how I see you. Because from my point of view, I am learning more from you than what I'm learning from me reading this. And that is why I am not reading ahead on my own. That really is. That's why I'm taking this as slow as I'm taking this, because I can easily have this done reading by tomorrow. I really could. If it was up to me, I could sit here and read this whole thing because I'm a speed reader. I can read it. But the fact that I'm like, no, I'm not going to speed read and just read words. I want to actually absorb the words. I want to analyze them. I want to see other perspectives. Oh, me, I would totally argue with a pastor. I that's me. You say you don't argue with your I would if I'm in a room in such a way, I would totally argue with them. Who came in? Oh, sorry. Okay, wait. I think hypnosis is the enemy counterfeiting the real deal. The enemy does have some power, but it's not of God. I don't argue with my pastor. I'm sorry. I just liked my own life. I don't even know how I liked it, but I liked my own life. There we go. Um, I hope you realize I'm not arguing in a negative way. Um, I guess, and maybe that's a fault of mine. I try to reason with the madness in my head. Like I said, just think about it this way. This entire screen is nothing but bubble, 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 bubble. Like that's the world I live in. And I tried to explain this to Chris, and it's hard for him to comprehend. But just imagine that there's all these bubbles, and I have to pick a bubble in order to discuss what that bubble is. But the problem is, as I'm picking this bubble, I'm seeing all these other bubbles here. And it's literally that's how my mind works. So when you guys give me a different perspective, it's adding a bubble to the many bubbles that I have. And it's actually it's mind altering for me in a good way, not a bad way. And if it seems like I'm arguing, it's because you just introduced a new bubble to my world of bubbles that I didn't even see before. Um, I have, but in respectful way, because the pastor is still human and needs to be checked sometimes. I do try to reason, but then I get told I just haven't heard the truth yet. I will say this, and Kaz, please forgive me. If I came across that I'm saying that you're, and I'm going to use just a couple words. If I came across that you're ignorant, you're stupid, you don't know, you're blind, that was not my intention at all. Um, I'm not even saying that what my perspective is truth. All I'm saying is whatever your perspective was, to hear a different side for you to determine what is truth or not. That's all. And forgive me if I ever came across that way. If the Holy Spirit puts a check in someone's spirit when the pastor says something, it's important. Okay. I think you need to expand upon that. If the Holy Spirit puts a check in someone's spirit, are you trying to say if the Holy Spirit gives you a thought and it's different than what a pastor says? Or if the Holy Spirit gives you an idea and you go to a pastor for explanation? You just have to explain that a little bit, Sarah. I'm confused what that means. To bring that up, important to trust that. So, oh, thank you, RJ. You follow me. I'm on every day. So I know this is, I believe this is your second time follow us, but welcome back. Um, but thank you for following. Yeah, if you could just re-explain what that says about the Holy Spirit, and just be careful about, you might get deleted by, I don't know if it's going to delete what you're going to say. I don't know why it's filtering out column. She's saying if you think of the pastor is wrong with you. Okay, if I think the pastor is wrong, you should tell him. Yes, it's important to respectfully discuss with the pastor if she said something that's okay. So, what you're basically saying is if you're talking to a pastor and you think what they're saying is incorrect, that would be a message from the Holy Spirit, and you should literally check in and discuss why there's a differencing of opinion. Is that pretty much what you're trying to say? Which I think this, like I said, this perfectly comes full circle. I think that's why these discussions are so important. It's because we read it and then we discuss and say that, wait a minute, there might be a different perspective as to what this means. Not always from the Holy Spirit. Okay, so when you say not always from the Holy Spirit, could it be either our own thinking or it could be messages from demonic influence? But if it is, and he says something contrary from the pulpit to the to what the word says, then you want to make sure that then you want to come to an agreement, correct? So, who knows? Sorry, I'm yawning. Just yawned a little bit. Might as well finish it. There's like a little bit left. I agree with you. Hearing a different size is necessary to know the truth. Yeah. I mean, okay, it's like what I was talking about with the Sentinelese. Sentinelese tribe. Very interesting tribe if you ever want to learn about them. For them, their life is surrounded about being Sentinelese because they have no knowledge of what's on the outside. And it's interesting because they are protected by the outside government that they will never know what the outside knowledge is. So that could actually be detrimental. But they are the oldest tribe that literally has no knowledge of anything modern. So I guess they're being used more as a what do you call it, a science experiment than anything else, because they are an isolated tribe that has absolutely no knowledge of what any advancement is. Okay, so All right. All I'm trying to say is if we should all I'm trying to say is we should not blindly follow any man because he's still a man. You can't determine what's true without first considering all perspectives and I agree with that. But the only counter to that, RG, and I think this goes in with what Susan was saying, you can't determine what's true without first considering all perspectives. What will um, what will be an opposite point of view of that is you absolutely can through faith and belief. And that's the thing. And I mean, that's where it could be a back and forth argument because many people have determined in their life that the Bible and Jesus and God is true without ever reading the Bible. They will determine and have faith that everything is correct without knowing the full story. Now, me, originally I came into this that I wanted to know the full story, but even up to this point, the more and more that I'm learning, the more that I'm seeing how this interacts with the world around me, the more I'm seeing this in everything, is the more I'm saying, why did I walk away? This is absolutely true, which is fine. And I mean, and I know you weren't here earlier. We were showing the flip side of that is because, and we talked about you earlier, so I hope your ears weren't ringing. But we talked about you earlier where I was saying for Islam, for Muslim, they are going to say that Allah is the one true God. On one end, if they've never read the Bible, then they're always going to say Allah is the one true God. You, on the other hand, actually read the Bible, and that strengthened your faith in Allah because you realize, yes, a Bible does exist, the Lord does exist, but in my realm, Allah is still God. And that's a very, very interesting perspective. So what I'm saying is no matter what side you're on, if you even read the opposite, it could still um, have power with the faith of what you believe in. So that's what I'm saying. So the fact that you've already read the opposing point of view and you still have come to your own conclusion that yes, this is not correct, Allah is correct. That's what, in a sense, I was talking about, where, okay, do different perspectives, because if you see different perspectives and you could truly believe after you saw those different perspectives that no, my way is the correct way, then that is beautiful. But if you've never been introduced to any other things, then you know that you won't see the possibilities. Okay, so just because he holds the title of pastor doesn't mean we aren't able to question him. Okay, also, God says don't mix and listen to the way or follow the ways who know false gods. That's what God says. That might not be what other people say, what other gods say. You know what I mean? And and I'm not trying to make this a circular argument, but what's interesting, Kaz, is as much passion as Christians have with the exact thing that you say is the same passion other religions have against other religions. So they'll teach the same way. Don't worship the falsities. Don't worship the infidels. Don't work. You know what I mean? It's like don't worship anything else because that's all fake. This is the one true way. And it's not. And I'm not just talking about Islam. Put any religion. Any religion will basically say the same thing. Pastafarianism, the noodle god. Only follow the noodle god as he extends his noodle appendages, worshiping you, which it's a joke, but now people are actually taking seriously. But that's what the whole thing of Pastafarianism was that it was meant to be a joke against organized religions, but people turned it around and said, "Oh no, it's absolutely true." Not amen, it's Rahman. So sorry. Faith is important, but to know the truth, you need to examine and reason, not just believe. I agree with you on that. By your thinking, what's the problem in checking out Satan worship or just looking? For me, there's no problem with that. I honestly think that people should check out Satan worship and should look into it to see whether it's right or wrong. Because and I'm just gonna say this. Christians, and this is my boxing. Christians are automatically going to point to Satanists and say what you're doing is evil, who you're worshiping. The irony is that Satanists actually don't worship Satan. That's the irony. So, so in my opinion, I think yes, as a Christian or as any religion, you should look into other religions to find out why is there a majority of what they believe in and why they believe in and what makes it appealing to them. This way that solidifies why your faith in this is so much more important. That is my belief. And yes, you could say that's a dangerous belief, but that is something that I do believe in. The devil can use anything as an open door to come and confuse you and take you away from the truth. But did you read the Bible with an open heart? She said that's what God says, but what about other people? I missed the reference. I might have said something, but I don't know. All should matter is what the one true God says. You can't. I'm sorry. So you should look into porn on the internet to see what you're missing. Oh, porn. I'm going to assume you mean porn. Um, should I even answer that question? I mean, okay, you're going to be mad at me if, and I'm going to say this um, in a bad light because, yes, I know where did that come from? I'm confused too. I mean, that's a ridiculous. I mean, I understand the point she's trying to make. I'm going to say this: you can learn a lot from that. So if somebody is, I'm going to give you an example. One of my exes was asexual. Had the trifecta: schizophrenic, autistic, and bipolar. That was their, and they classified themselves as asexual. Okay. And I said to them, I says, I'm just curious. Why are you asexual? Well, because they never had sex before. They were virgin. And I said to them, I says, okay, do you want to remain that way? Or do you want to explore other options? And I don't know. So I made this suggestion. I says, why don't you look at corn? Why don't you look at the corn? I have to be careful. Why don't you look at that and possibly see if there is anything that maybe you find pleasing? Or if you don't see anything and you find it completely distasteful, well, at least you tried. I mean, I guess maybe that is, one could say that that is evil way of thinking, but I really do believe that people should experience as much as they can in life. Now, sadly, you could take that to the extreme. So I'm not saying like, oh, I believe you should murder somebody just so you can get the experience of doing that. No. However, I do agree that if there are things in life that are not illegal, that are not detrimental, that are not anything like this, that yes, perhaps explore it, not become addicted to it, not do bad things, then yes, I do believe for the experience, this way you could determine whether you like kids. I mean, one of the best things is with the kids. It turns out the kids' palates, they've never tried so many things. There are foods that they've never tried. I mean, I get amazed when I talk about a food and Chris is like, I've never tried that. I'm like, are you serious? So I give them this thing. It's like, okay, just try it. You could spit it out. You could say you never want it again. You could tell me you don't like it. But how can you tell me that you hate something if you have no idea that you've never tried it before? So yes, that might be a twisted point of view, but my belief is yes, you should try everything to determine the actual experience of whether you like it or not. So where did that come in? I know it's an extreme example, but my answer would be yeah, turn to that because there might be something that it can teach you. Sometimes what you're missing is way more dangerous than what you know. She said it's okay to look into Satan worship to see what you're missing. Yes, I did say that, and I'm going to say that as well, because, like I said, when you learn about the tenets of what it's saying and what they're teaching and why they're teaching what they're teaching, you will realize it really doesn't have to do with Satanism. And I almost feel like they should literally change the word Satan, because their religion is not based on Satan. It really isn't. So by thinking you should look up corn because of what you're doing is wrong, I mean, millions of other people don't. So why not? Exactly. All these people say, I was born this way. Okay. But, geez, are they really blocking Jesus from you, Sarah? I don't know why they're blocking Jesus. But Jesus says you should be born again. All these people say, I was born this way. But Jesus says you should be born this. I don't know why I'm thinking Lady Gaga song "Born This Way." I'm sorry, but confused. All these people say I was born this way. Okay, but Jesus says, okay. So when you're saying I was born this way, are you meaning that they're making excuses that, hey, I was born this way, so that's why I'm going to do it, or am I getting off track with what you're saying? I mean, why not? Other people do it. Detrimental, exactly. Trying new foods is not experimenting with sin. Okay, but see, this is the funny thing, and please forgive me. That is the Christian point of view. They are instantly going to point at that and saying, well, that is a sin to learn about that. It's a sin to play Dungeons and Dragons. And okay, why is it evil to play Dungeons and Dragons? Have you ever learned about Dungeons and Dragons? Have you ever played? I mean, that's the example. And I'm not trying to support Satanism. But all I'm saying is when you actually learn about the tenets of what Satanism is and what it's all about, I'm not saying that um, you're not going to expose yourself to evil, but you will see a different perspective, which will either solidify your faith in God, or it may open your eyes that, hey, wait a minute, maybe I've been looking at this in the um wrong light. Okay. um okay, trying new foods is not experimenting with sin, right? I kind of feel like maybe you were right. Are you justified dabbling into sin just to say you've had that experience? I'm probably going to be bad for saying this, but yes, I am, because you may be calling it as a sin doesn't necessarily mean it's actually a sin. And I know that you guys are going to be like, what is she saying? But yes, because for other people it's not considered a sin. So you can't. Kaz, I'm sorry, you got snow. Did it actually start snowing? Okay. God is logical. A God who contradicts logic cannot be true, with all due respect. I'm honestly, RJ. Oh, I thought it was Jay. It's RG. I'm sorry, RG. I'm a little confused by that because I know you were talking about logical and illogical yesterday, but it makes me wonder where what the logical. I'm talking in circles. I'm trying to understand the logical path that you're referring to when you say something like that. Okay. And excuse me 1 second, guys. I just gotta do a quick message. I'm sorry. Hold on. Where'd he go? Did I erase the message? Hold on. Hold on. No, no, no. I'm not exiting. I'm not exiting. No. I just got a quick message. And I lost the message. Oh, no, no, no. Don't. I didn't disappear. Am I still here? Am I still here? Okay, I'm still here. Sorry. Okay. Still here. Okay. There it is. There it is. Okay. There we go. I think I got it. Okay, let me go on. Oops, I'm sorry. That's not what I'm looking for. Hold on. What am I doing? All right, that's so weird. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Had to just check something out. Okay, so you got snow. Actually, it's snow, not ice. That's good because I should show you the window outside. No, there are some gray things, but some sin is black and white, like corn and sexually. Okay, like drinking. Some people believe drinking is a sin. Other think it's okay in moderation. Which that's just it. Is you can overindulge in stuff. You can go too far with stuff. So um, God calls it a sin so many times in the Bible. I highly recommend that you read the laws of logic. And you know something, I probably will because I'm curious as to where it ties in with what you're saying. So people aren't calling it a sin. God Himself says it's a sin. The Bible says don't do this. Just a simple search. Okay. Kaz, I'm so sorry. Hi, Bree. Welcome to the show. Bree is in the house. I don't need to. How about you want me to get to? Well, what time is it? It is 1 o'clock. So, how about this? Do we want to close out the show? Do we want to go back to Joshua? Do we want to completely switch the subject? I'm going to put the vote out in the chat. This is what we're talking about with the circumcision of the heart. No, I know what you meant. So, circumcision of the heart is realizing that there are sins that we're not supposed to be doing and not trying to, I guess, manipulate the word into saying, yes, it's okay to do it, even though it's not okay to do it. I mean, is that what I'm just trying to think? Okay. I'm just curious. Yes, and death to our freshly desires. Now it's interesting because, like I said, in Buddhist culture, man's suffering is caused by men's desires. So that's an interesting perspective. Oh, flesh. Oh, fleshly. Well, fleshly desires, same thing. So, see, I thought you meant with new desires. That's what I thought you meant by freshly, but you meant to say flesh desires. That's fine. I was taking it both ways. But okay, so flesh desires. So there is this philosophy in Buddhism that your suffering is caused by your desires. And that can be desires of anything, desires of the flesh, desires of alcohol, desires of addiction. So your suffering is caused by that, which is interesting because isn't that the way that God is teaching about sin? That too much desires is a sin. They don't want you to drink. They don't want you to turn to alcohol. Doesn't want you to turn to gambling addiction. Doesn't want to turn you into worshiping false idols. Right, and those things do bring destruction. And I almost want to say, and I think this is where we do have maybe a difference, is what I'm saying is yes, they're sins. But at the same time, I almost want to say potentially experiencing it and understanding it, but doing it in a but see that could be detrimental. I mean, okay, yeah. See, this is where my thinking is skewed because I am the same type of person that will say, yes, you should try possibly an action just to see and understand why you shouldn't do it. So yes, you should put your hand on the stove to understand that you're going to get burned. You should, and see that's what it is. The catch is experimenting it can be detrimental. Example, the sky wait, hold on. Example, the sky is blue and the sky is not blue for Sam. Same sky at the same time can't be true. But that's just it. It also has to do with perspective, Audrey, because I could say the sky is blue, but Sam could be colorblind and say, no, the sky is not blue, the sky is gray. And it's interesting because we're both right. It's just perspective wise, we're seeing things in two different ways. Okay, so experimenting with sin will never go well for you. Okay. Okay. Hold on 1 second. Okay, I just need to. I might actually have to go soon. Hold on. Oh no! Am I here? Sorry, I was responding to a message. I don't know if I respond to a message, does it stop the live? So hopefully it didn't. All right, so yes, experimenting with sin will never go well for. The only thing I say, and I guess that's wrong to say, is for me, experimenting, the thing that could go well is that you understand why it's bad for you. So the wage the wages of sin is death, and that's what was proven in the Old Testament, is that when they did something against the Lord, they were instantly consequenced to the point of death. They were instantly punished. And I don't know, I think I'm digging myself in a hole on this one. I think I am. Which, no offense, ties into the story I started out with. I know you ladies weren't here, but when I came online, I started out with the story, and it talked about a man being in a hole, and how he was in a hole, and no matter what he did and whoever helped him, the help was only temporary. And the only thing that I changed is because it's actually a recovery addict thing, is change the word of recovering addict to Jesus. And it was actually Jesus who came in the hole with him and basically said, because the guy's like, why did you come in this hole with me? And Jesus said, because I know I've been in the hole myself and I know exactly how to get out of it. So, but yeah, you missed that story. That was a story I opened up with. All right, so experiment, for the wages of sin is death, and that is why Jesus had to come and sacrifice himself. His death was not in vain. Can Sam say the sky is gray and not gray for the same sky at the same sky? Can Sam say the sky is gray and not gray for the same sky? I'm going to say yes, simply because depending upon where he's looking at in the same sky, there'll be different gradients. Because even though it's the sky, I could look at the sky and say, I'm looking at the sky as gray. However, there's a cloud covering that sky, and the cloud is white. So, yes, the sky is now gray and white. Oh, but wait a minute. Next to the cloud is the sun. I'm still looking at the sky. So, the sky is gray, the sky is white, the sky is now yellow because of the sun. So, yeah. Oh, even Kaz said it, because the sky looks gray, but he knows the sky is blue above the clouds. Subjective view can't change the truth. Truth is universal. And I think this is going to be a roundabout, but I think of the story of the elephant with the blind men. Okay, so you have an elephant and you have a group of blind men around the elephant. So the first man is going to reach out and say, well, wait a minute. This elephant has very, very rough skin. It's rough, and he's holding on to the foot. But then another man is going to say, what are you talking about rough skin? This skin is smooth, thin, and hairy because the guy is holding on to the tail. And another guy's saying, wait, no, you guys are both wrong. He's holding on to the tusk. It's very, very smooth and pointy. There's no roughness to this at all. It's a very smooth and pointy, hard material. And what happens is each of these guys are at a different perspective of the same being. And they're all going to describe the elephant completely different. So, um, Jesus loved you and was unalive for you. That is the truth. And Sarah, please forgive me. And I'm probably going to say um, his words, but he can turn around and say, but Allah is the one true God. And both of you, in your own perspectives, are absolutely correct. And that's what makes it interesting. And it brings me back to This right here. No, clouds you're adding are the variants. I'm saying the same sky is the same sky. All right. Well, on that thing, I mean, yeah, I guess logic can be, I want to say logic can be illogical and logical at the same time. All right. So guys, this is what I'm going to do. Not that I'm trying to, end this, but we've been on for we've been on a little over 4 hours. And I got to go to my favorite place, the bathroom. What I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to end the show here. Not that I'm ending it because I want to shut you guys up. That's not the case at all. I don't want to end, but I think this is a good place to end it. We are going to, let me write this down because we are on chapter 10, and I'm going to start chapter 10 verse 12. I think that's a good place to start. So tomorrow's show, which is episode 78, we're going to start on chapter 10 verse 12, because that's exactly where Joshua is speaking about the sun stopping. And I think that is very important because I didn't know what you were talking about at first. I'm like, wait a minute, God is going to stop the sun, and then it ended up being I'm like, oh, we're right there, because I didn't go ahead. So I want to read up what happens, because my assumption is by the Lord stopping the sun, that area is going to burn, and by him stopping the moon, that area is going to freeze in darkness. So that's going to create a very interesting thing. He's already opened the heavens and put hail upon us. So by putting hail upon us, he killed more people than actually the children of Israel, who were stabby. So that's where we're going to. Oh, that's not what happens? Okay, so see, that's what makes it interesting. That's my assumption of what's going to happen, because to me, that's what will happen if you stop the sun and stop the moon. So I can't wait to read what's going to happen. So obviously, something is going to happen. No, don't tell me. Basically, it gives them it gives them an extra day to fight their families. Oh, don't give it away. Don't give it away. I want to know what's going to happen. Okay, so it gives them an extra day to fight their enemies. All right. So what's going to happen is we are going to read that tomorrow. So I've been on for a little over 4 hours, guys. So what I'm going to say is tomorrow we're going to do chapter 78. I'm sorry. It's going to be the 78th episode. We're going to start on chapter 10, verse 12. And if anybody, I don't know what I was going to say. What I'm going to say is, everybody, with this storm, please stay safe, stay healthy, be careful. I mean, this is very important. I will be continuing to live stream this both on YouTube and TikTok, but TikTok is going to be my focus. And definitely stay safe. So I will see you guys tomorrow. I want to thank you all. And I know the topic has gone all over the place. I almost want to say this is an amazing thing. At the same time, it is not my intention to upset anybody. And I know sometimes it can get into really deep rooted things. If there's anything that I teach, and I teach this to the kids, is don't immediately disconnect from somebody if you've never known about it, experience it, or because they do that all the time. They always will not try something or do something simply because they immediately say, well, I'm not going to like it. And maybe that's a bad thing. Maybe that's a detrimental thing. But in my opinion, it's like always see different perspectives. Because if you could see different perspectives, then you could possibly come into one of these categories. Oh, thank you so much, Susan. So everyone, have a great day. Stay safe. Pray for the health and happiness everywhere as well. And have a great day, guys. Take care.